Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me convene this special called meeting of the Macon-Bibb County Commission and say that we typically begin all of our meetings with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to call on Rabbi Schlesinger to give us an invocation, and then we'll all join the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand as you are able for the invocation and pledge?
We gratefully acknowledge that you are the Lord our God, the God of all people, the God of all generations. So we now thank you. We sing your praises for our lives, which are in your hands, for our souls, which are ever in your keeping, for the signs of your presence that we encounter every day, and for all your gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We pray that peace and goodwill will obtain among all the inhabitants of our community and our land, and that belief in you will continue to spread its many blessings among us, exalting us all in righteousness. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. A couple of preliminary remarks, if you will permit me, and we're all kind of off base just a little bit with this, in that this is the first called meeting of the commission that I did not call. So let me just give you a couple of little preliminary comments that might be applicable and appropriate for this meeting. The mayor, as presiding officer, is responsible for the orderly conduct of the meetings of the commission. In order to fulfill this duty, the mayor shall enforce the rules of procedure adopted by the commission. The mayor shall be impartial and conduct the meetings in a fair manner. The mayor may introduce motions or second motions. The mayor shall not vote except to break a tie. The rules further go on, and this I'm quoting now from an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission that was adopted back in 2014 for the conduct of our meetings, actually December the 31st, 2013, for the conduct of our meetings. Another refers to conduct of the public generally. This is conduct of members of the public in meetings generally. All cell phones and other communication devices shall be turned off or switched to a silent mode, provided, however, the cell phone or device may be used to make a video or audio recording of the meeting. All meeting attendees must be silent during the meeting while business is conducted. Anyone who wants to speak must first be recognized by the presiding officer. All comments must be directed to the presiding officer and not to individual commissioners, staff, or others. All meeting attendees must conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Personal attacks and derogatory or inappropriate remarks are not permitted. shall be no use of profanity during the meeting. With that just general guideline, then, as I say, we'll call this meeting to order. I did not call this meeting, but the charter provides that the mayor pro tem may call a meeting of the commission for any purpose. As I understand it, this meeting has been called by Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, and the agenda is as follows. Number one, a presentation by the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission. Number two, a presentation by the Cherry Blossom Festival Board. And number three, an update from the Industrial Authority. So with that, let me turn this over to Mayor Pro Tem Bivens to lead us in the further discussion. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Okay, thank you. There have come some situations arising in the community between some groups and organizations that we feel are essential to this community, and that's why they are supported by this board. This is basically a fact-finding, and what we are hoping that can come out of this is that there can be a resolution where there are parties that disagree. We need to encourage resolution. If there's no objection, I'd like to go to number 3 for an update from the Industrial Authority.
Commissioner Bechtel, I had your light on next. Was that for an objection or comment?
Comment. I think they're on their way, Commissioner Bibbins. So I apologize, but
Okay.
they are.
Okay.
They are on their way. They're walking up.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the beginning of the agenda then. And
Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you. I have a point of inquiry, please, to the attorney. What would be the appropriate procedure for adding to this agenda, or can we add to the agenda?
Per the charter, for a special call meeting, only the items that are on the agenda may be discussed. We're not able to add items to this agenda.
I wanted to have the option of going into executive session because there are some personnel questions that I have, and I think there's some people that we need to talk to individually, and I don't think we'll reach a resolution to the concerns that we have in an open session. At least I don't prefer discussing some things in an open session. And so, Mr. Attorney, you're our legal mind. You need to tell us how we go about having an executive session, or show me where it says that we are not allowed to have an executive session.
Yes,
Either
ma'am.
way, it works.
Section 19C of the Code of Ordinances begins special meetings of the commission may be held on call of the mayor pro tempore or a majority of all members of the commission. The mayor should be authorized to call a special meeting regarding physical affairs or emergencies involving public safety. It goes on to discuss the notice, but the last sentence of this section says only the business stated in the call may be transacted at the special meeting.
Can the agenda be amended?
No, ma'am. Only the business stated in the call may be transacted at the special
Where
meeting.
does it say it can't be amended?
That's how I interpret that provision.
Does it say that, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, ma'am, it does say that. Only the business.
Read that part to me where it says that we cannot amend the agenda of a special call meeting.
I think it just makes perfect sense. If it says only the business stated in the call may be transacted at special meeting, that is saying that you can only transact that business. So if you amended the agenda, you'd be transacting additional business. And I feel very confident that that is what the charter says. I think the public policy behind that would probably be that these are meetings held on short notice, that the public has a right to normally be at meetings, and in this instance, the charter specifies that if you're going to have a special meeting that's not the normal time, then it makes prudence that only the business stated in the call may be transacted at a special meeting. What I would recommend is at the next meeting, if you want to go into executive session, we do that. The charter is pretty succinct on this point.
Commissioner Lucas, to one other point that I think may be pertinent here. The executive session to discuss a personnel issue, it is my understanding from talking with the county attorney that we cannot go into executive session. Even if it were on the agenda, we cannot go into executive session to discuss a member of an organization other than Macon-Bibb County. So a separate authority personnel issue would not be appropriate. I'll let the county attorney say that. So even if, before we get bogged down in whether or not we can amend this agenda, there's another underlying question of whether we can go into executive session at all to discuss an employee of an organization other than Macon-Bibb County.
Know what the employee issue is about. So how can you make that determination beforehand?
I'll let
And the county attorney give us the reasons that you can go into executive session. The categories that you can discuss in executive session.
You can go into executive session for consultation with the county attorney or other legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial action brought or to be brought by or against the county or any officer or employee, or in which the county or any other officer or employee may be directly involved. To discuss tax matters made confidential by state laws provided by OCGA 50-14-2, subsection 2. Discussion or voting on authorizing a settlement as provided in OCGA section 50-14-3, authorizing negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property, authorizing an appraisal, entering into a contract for the purchase, disposal of, or lease of property as provided by OCGA section 50-14-3, entering into an option to purchase, dispose of, or lease property as provided by OCGA section 50-14-3, discussion or deliberation on the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a county officer or employee as provided by OCGA 50-14-3B2, interviewing candidates for executive positions. Those are the reasons.
So when would be the earliest possible time that we could have an executive session? Because I think it's called for. We're gathering information today, and I understand that. And I wish that we had, there had been that advisement earlier, and this could have been added to the agenda. I think the longer we let this thing rock on, and then our schedules get full, then that lessens the opportunity for us to go ahead and deal with the issues that are serious issues, and that's what we were elected to do. So it is your opinion that I could not make a motion to add an executive session to today's agenda?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Commissioner Tillman, I got your light on next before we go back to Mayor Pro Tem Bibb.
I would second Commissioner Lucas's executive session order. Mr. Attorney, if you would go back 3 sentences up, it says you can go into executive session if you're going to be discussing leased property. I would determine that the items on the agenda, such as Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, Cherry Blossom Festival Board, and the industry, those 2 entities themselves are owned by the Urban Development Authority, which constitutes that those properties are Macon-Bibb properties, and so therefore that will be the reason to go into executive session. So I will second the motion, and you can clear that up and go back and look at that, sir.
I'm not, well, my point is not that there may not be an appropriate reason to go in executive session, and I don't know what the reason is. I would need to know. But my point is that the charter says only the business stated in the call may be transacted in a special meeting. We have a copy of the agenda right here that was published, and the 3 items stated in the call are presentation by the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, presentation by the Cherry Blossom Festival Board, and update from the Industrial Authority. There is no executive session stated in this call, and that is that.
Mr. Attorney, I would call for a motion to suspend the rules.
You cannot suspend the charter. It's the charter.
Mr. Attorney, the charter is all of what makes up motions, rules, regulations for the entire community of Macon-Bibb County. So at any point, a member of the commission can suspend the rules. I would further go a step further as to say my reasoning to go into executive session would be not to publicly put anybody on the spot or try to embarrass any organization. I think this administration is well aware of what has been transpiring and going on, that these things have not been worked out thus far behind the scenes. And so here we are in a special call meeting. And if there was any issues of concern that was going to rise to commission, these are how you work those things out behind the scenes and not in the public's eye. Because right now we're in a situation where we're having to reiterate and read the charter as it goes. So with that, there is no clause or provision that I'm aware of in the charter that would say a commissioner cannot suspend the rules.
Thank you, Commissioner Tillman, but let me, as presiding officer, let me tell you where I think we are. I'm going to rule the motion and second to go into executive session out of order for reasons stated by the county attorney. Now, let me say that having said that that's out of order, we're not going to do that. The rules say that an appeal, if a commissioner disagrees with a ruling that's made by the presiding officer, that commissioner may appeal the decision. If the appeal is seconded, the appeal will be considered by the commission. The presiding officer has the opportunity to explain the ruling that has been challenged. The commission may then debate the appeal. The affirmative vote of at least 5 members of the commission is required to overturn the presiding officer's decision. An appeal is high in precedence and can only be interrupted by a privileged motion or by a motion to lay on the table. So the presiding officer has ruled that to go into executive session is out of order for the reasons stated by the county attorney. Does anyone want to appeal that ruling? Okay. Well, go right ahead, Commissioner Allen.
Mr. Mayor, this here shows us it came down from Robert Rickert, which I've just seen this in the last few minutes. I thought that Commissioner Bivens had called this meeting, not you, and that Ms. Ross is the one that sent it out as clerk of the commission. Now, if Mr. Bivens had written this, I wouldn't be too much I would have to say, but this is called his meeting that was called, and I have issue with that. That's the reason I did what I just did.
Well, let me clarify. The only thing I did was print the email that was sent to me by Janice Ross. That's the reason my name appears at the top in the upper left-hand corner, because I printed it. But this is the email that went out to everybody.
Did Commissioner Bivens send that information out?
If I might clarify, Commissioner Ross and I jointly called Commissioner Bivens and clarified with him what he went on the agenda, and that is verbatim what he told us in a joint conference call, and that email was sent out immediately following that.
Commissioner Tillman, got your light back on again, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. With all that's been stated and said, I have no issue in moving forward with the current agenda. And if there is a time where we are permitted, then I would seek again to suspend the rules to go into executive session.
Well, as I say, the ruling of the presiding officer is that the executive session is out of order for the rules. There's been an appeal by Commissioner Lucas, and that was seconded by Commissioner Allen. So it takes 5 members of the commission required to overturn. So all those in favor of overriding the presiding officer would vote yes to override the presiding officer. Those that vote no or don't want to override the ruling of the presiding officer would vote no. So let me have the hands of those that want to vote yes to override the presiding officer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got five affirmative votes. The presiding officer is overruled. Therefore, we'll add executive session to the agenda. I don't know exactly at what point you want to add it, but there we are. At what point do you want to add the executive session, and who do you want to include in it, Commissioner Lucas?
We'll need
I mean, what other than just the members of the commission? You want us to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, we include those folks who are appropriate to the issue.
Well, I'm not trying to play dumb. I mean, I don't know exactly for what purpose. I mean, and who you want to have in the executive session other than members of the commission. All of us would go into executive
Right.
session. But do
Right.
you want to add anyone else?
Mr. Attorney, don't we have that privilege of adding the appropriate people to the executive session?
Well, generally, you can add some people, but it generally is related to
The
top
issues
levels-
that are on
top
here,
level
and it
staff.
will be.
Well,
Those folks would be.
I'm-
We wouldn't bring in a duck if we're talking about the sky, I don't guess.
Well, first of all, it's not clear. It would depend on the entity and who you're trying to bring in.
Let
If the
us-
privilege extends to us.
Let's
let me-
deal with that when we get to it. We've
And
added
let me
that
say
as
that
number
as county
4.
attorney of Macon-Bibb County, I will not be going into that executive session.
What?
I do not believe it's proper. I believe the charter is clear, and I do not want to be found in violation of the open record.
Well, are you resigning your position?
No, I'm not.
But you're
Only the mayor
failing to
can do that.
carry out your duties as county attorney.
I would strongly ask the commission to reconsider. I don't want to see y'all getting in trouble for violating the open meetings law and you're violating your charter. I just think that the charter couldn't be any clearer. I'm not trying to obstruct you. Commissioner, I had my legal assistant, my top attorney, call you on Thursday, Crystal Jones, because I understood that perhaps that from a conversation she had that you might want to go in executive session. I had her call you. She said she emailed you because we had it on Friday to amend the agenda. According to her, so it wasn't like I didn't want to do this. I wanted to. I didn't want to get to this point, but I can only do what I can do.
If you knew.
And we'd had the meeting with him. We had a conference call with him. I asked Commissioner Bibbins, don't we want to go into executive session? He said, no, not that I know of. I can't do what I can do, and so I'm sitting here saying, please be respectful of the rules and the law. I would ask y'all strongly to do that, but if you choose not to, that's your decision. I think that'll be a mistake, and a mistake that you'll regret eventually. I wish we could do this executive session. You want to call another special call meeting in 48 hours, or we can do it at committee meetings on Tuesday. But I certainly was not trying to be obstructionist, and I'm only trying to follow the mandate of the charter, and I can't change what was written and adopted in the law. That is, and you're incorrect that you can suspend the rules when it comes to the charter. There's general law, which is the official code of Georgia, and then there's a charter, which is local law. And no rule we adopt, only the state legislature of Georgia can change that charter. And you can't just say, I'm going to suspend the rules when it comes to the charter. If it was our rules, you certainly could. But this is pretty, but I think you'll be, I think that I strongly feel like that I understand why you might want to do that, and you might be frustrated, but I think that's the wrong step to take. I really do.
Commissioner
Is there a motion to reconsider by one of the 5 members that voted to go into executive session?
could I ask something?
Absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem Bibb.
Commissioner Lucas, could we have this added to the agenda for Tuesday, where we can go into executive session and clear this up?
Well, Tuesday's our regular agenda meeting. We got plenty of time.
Today is Tuesday, so we're talking about next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Second.
Got a motion to reconsider and a second by Commissioner Lucas. So now all those in favor of overriding the chair would still vote yes to override the chair with the additional consideration. This is a motion to reconsider that vote. So all those in favor of overriding the chair to say the executive session is not appropriate for today.
Reconsider.
I don't understand.
Isn't this a motion to reconsider? To reconsider.
That's excellent.
That'll
Excellent.
make it better.
Excellent point, Commissioner Lucas. So there's been a motion to reconsider by Commissioner Watkins, seconded by Commissioner Lucas. So all those in favor of the motion to reconsider signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So we're going to reconsider. So those now that wish to reconsider and override the decision of the presiding officer not to include the executive session would vote yes. Those that do not want to override the presiding officer and therefore do not add the executive session would vote no. So now can I see the hands of the yeses?
I'm still not quite clear.
Okay, that's fine. Those that want to override the chair and add the executive session to this agenda,
Vote
contrary to the advice, would vote yes.
yes. Okay.
Those that do not want to override and not therefore add the would vote no. So may I see the hands of the yeses? None. Zeros.
Where,
May I see the hands of the noes? Commissioner Allen, is yours a no?
I think everybody's confused.
Yeah, if you don't raise your hands.
Okay.
If you're present.
Okay. But I still want to clarify, or we can have this added to the agenda for Tuesday, so that we can take this issue up.
Yes, sir. I think we could. I'll let the county attorney speak to that, but certainly you're ahead of 48 hours, and that's a regular meeting of the. And so you could go into executive session. However, that's the evening meeting, and perhaps we could add it to the agenda for pre-commission. Would be a more appropriate thing rather than trying to go into executive session and adjourn here and to go back into the session.
I'm thinking pre-commission.
Yes, we can put an executive session on the pre-commission agenda, or the commission agenda for that matter. We'll need to specify the reason.
Okay, so we'll address that if and when somebody wants to request an executive session for next Tuesday, either at pre-commission or the regular commission. If it's at the regular commission, we'll be out here and then adjourn and go in there. But if it's pre-commission, then we'll just meet in there. And we'll need to know who else other than members of the commission you want to have included.
Okay, but can we agree now that we'll put it on pre-commission Tuesday coming up, next Tuesday?
It's a matter of requesting.
Right.
We're
I
all
don't
elected
think you need to
officials.
vote on that. I think you can just ask for it, and I'll be glad to
Okay.
include
All
it
right.
on pre-commission.
Okay, that's good.
Make a note. Yes, sir. And we'll add that to the commission pre-commission agenda. So with those items of business, now we take up the first item on the agenda. There was earlier a request, I think, Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, to take item number 3 first. And I think I did see the Industrial Authority members. Is everybody here from the Industrial Authority that you want here? So if you wish to go to the Industrial Authority first or take it in the order, this is your call meeting, sir.
Yeah, let's go ahead with the Industrial Authority and what we really like, all things being considered. Been a lot of changes, and we'd like to just have some idea, as much as you can tell us about the changes that have taken place.
Can we turn the microphone at the podium? I think that's one of the ones I don't control.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Well, you're right, Mayor Pro Tem. There have been a lot of changes with the authority. Some good things have happened at the authority. I don't know how much of y'all know. I think we sent out some emails today to actually showcase our new corporate citizen, a new industry that we located today, obviously being Amazon. I don't know if y'all all got the email. I know I saw Commissioner Allen down there, Commissioner Bivens, I know the mayor was there, and Commissioner Bechtel was there. But today we announced the opening of a new facility, Amazon, who's going to bring in a little bit north of 500 jobs and bringing an investment in this community over $90 million. So we were very glad to have that announcement. I just gave you a handout, just kind of give you a brief update on the authority and what the authority's been doing in 2017. As of this day, the authority has put on a total of 1,017 jobs from January 1 till present, with an investment of about $562 million, a total estimated annual payroll of $36 million to Macon-Bibb County. So there's pretty much, that's what the authority's been doing. Just business as usual, Mayor Pro Tem. We've been just, staying on the radar, doing business as usual, and as you can see by the results, we've accomplished a pretty good amount in 2017. Is any specific question you had for us?
I don't know if anybody had a particular question that they wanted to ask. I think the one thing I'd like to, and somebody else may, but you just heard the discussion about having a closed session included in pre-commission meeting, and we would like for y'all to be back for that. If you can. That's Tuesday, 5 o'clock.
Well, I mean, in this regard, regarding, if I need to be prepared, what's in regards to Mayor Pro Tem?
It had to do with some personnel matters, and that was the reason for the call for a closed session.
And I'll have to get our attorney, which is Mr. Kevin Brown, which he's presently not here,
Right.
to get with Judd. But I don't know how much of personnel we can discuss, even in
Right.
closed session.
Right. I mean, but if you can come, and
Yes, sir.
we'll cover what we can.
Well, let me speak to that. I do not think that the privilege extends. The Macon-Bibb County Industrial Authority is a separate independent body. They have their own board. It is appointed, majority members by the mayor, confirmed by the commission. The privilege, our executive session privilege, would not apply to another entity, which is what they are. So I don't think we could go in to discuss, for example, personnel matters related to the industrial authority in the Macon-Bibb County Commission meeting. In fact, the model executive session affidavit that I have right here that is put out by the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia says discussion or deliberation on the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal or periodic evaluation or rating of county officers or employees. So to the extent we are allowed to go in to discuss in executive session personnel matters related to county officers or employees, if these individuals are not county officer employees, it would be inappropriate for us to be in executive session if you ask us to go in there and discuss employees of the industrial authority.
It is. Commissioner Tillman, I got you next, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Attorney, and thank y'all. We know that y'all do a great job, truly, a good, fine job. But it just seems to me that this meeting was called by Commissioner Bivens today, and for whatever reason, nobody knew what it was about, but our attorney seems to be well prepared to challenge us on issues today. And he's a fine man. He works for all of us. But let me say this. Y'all probably were added to the agenda because of some issues that I raised. I raised them with the attorney about 3 weeks ago, maybe longer than that. And it was an issue of we have provided the Industrial Authority, who is our economic arm, with $25 million in our $280 million splashed. We have many shortfalls. And one of the issues raised was I wanted to look for funding, and I raised the issue of can we remove some money from the Industrial Authority? And that was how y'all possibly have gotten on the agenda. I have not talked to Commissioner Bivens more recently than anybody, but that's more than likely how y'all got on this agenda. Let me finish. As of August the 11th, and what we have been accustomed to is the Industrial Authority coming up to this commission, sharing any and everything. And your former chairman always emphasized that we were y'all's boss. But according to the attorney today, we're not y'all's boss. So in saying that, we always would receive updates. So as of August the 11th, y'all have had a chairman that has resigned. Y'all have had personnel issues of people that's no longer there. And there were some issues of concern of what was happening because we are used to getting and receiving those updates. And so because we were not receiving those updates, it may have been portrayed that I was wanting to possibly remove or get some money from y'all, but we were looking at other entities as well. And so originally I thought it was 29, I was told it was 25. And that the attorney kept emphasizing that it was a MOU. So I think some questions came up of if we have an MOU with anyone, how could we go back and undo it? Because we have projects and things that needed immediate attention in Macon-Bibb County. And we know we have commitments of the $280 million splash with several entities. And you all were just one of those that I was looking at because I think we're paying you like $2.5 million, I think, a year. And so that was just one of the issues of concern. And for me to go into executive session, I would just think some of that information we would want to talk behind the scenes because it seems like people are aware of it, but nobody has said, let's just talk about it. And so to be fair to you all, I don't think, if you're not prepared to go into executive session, or I just wanted to be transparent as to say where some of how you guys may have gotten on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
Right. Commissioner Tillman, appreciate your remarks and your explanation. However, I think next Tuesday at pre-commission, that there will be an explanation to you of why we have not discussed or brought information to this commission about the changes down there, and I think their attorney can adequately explain that when they get here on next Tuesday. Anything further, Commissioner Lucas? I have your light on. Did you want to make a comment?
Yeah. Just want to comment. I hope you guys can come, even if for no other reason than to tell us what you can tell us to that meeting. And Mr. Tillman, just on behalf of the county attorney, I brought up these things. The reason he knows is because I thought I was kind of aware of the things that might come up in this meeting, so I mentioned them to him to get his responses. So that could be the reason that he was prepared to answer those questions. I mean, I just want to make that clear. I did bring those issues up to him.
Commissioner Lucas, got your light on next.
Thank you. We are called on as a commission to approve funding for a lot of different things. We were sincere in voting to commit $25 million over a period of time to the authority, the Industrial Authority, because of the great work that y'all have done, especially locating those big factories in my district. I really like that part of it. However, when we approve large amounts of money, we do expect, as Commissioner Tillman has stated, we do expect to know what's going on with it. I know we can't know everything, but the citizens call on us because as we said before, they're our next door neighbors. We see them in the grocery store. We see them wherever. We're elected. We're the closest folks there are to the voting public. And they ask us about these things. And if it appears strange to them, then they tell us about that. They ask us. If we don't know, you can imagine the situation that puts us in, not knowing. I personally would like to have a report, an update on the personnel. I've been a little bit concerned about some changes, some personnel changes, and I'd rather not get all my information from out there with somebody else. I'd like to get my information from you and my former second grade student, Dwight Jones, standing up there. So, yeah, I taught him in second grade. He turned out well. But the fact is that we need to get the information. And I am a little nervous about the assertion from our attorney that we can't request, that there's something that can be hidden from us. Now, we approve the membership of the authority, the industrial authority, as we do the urban development authority and all these other boards, Cherry Blossom, Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful, all of these different things. And we vote to fund those. And you're going to tell me that there's some things that you can keep from me? Oh, no, sir. And no, ma'am. That is an assertion that I just don't want to hear. So, Ms. Mayor, I would expect that at our meeting that these entities would be prepared to share with us the information that we ask for. Otherwise, the power of this commission is the power of the budget. And just like we approve things, we can defund items. I'm speaking for me. I am not going to continue supporting entities that I can't ask certain questions and get the answers. And I think that's just being a good steward of the taxpayers' money. And I think my constituents expect that of me. That I would be able to give them the information if it's appropriate for them to get it. But I do compliment you on everything. I'm sorry I couldn't make the announcement this morning. I understand it was a great one. Is that in my district too?
No, ma'am, that was not in your district.
Well,
It's in Bibb County, though.
It's in Bibb County. You're right. So what's good for Bibb County is good for all of us. But I look forward to the executive committee meeting next week so that we can get some answers to that information. And we're sure that you're going to be willing to provide that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Thank you very much, Chairman Fountain and Dwight. Thank you. Appreciate both of y'all being here today. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, do you want to move on now with number one, the presentation from Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, sir?
Yes, sir. And one. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
We want to have a discussion from Keep Macon Beautiful and Cherry Blossom. I think the reason for this is because there's an understanding that there's some kind of dispute between the two organizations. These are organizations that, and I think I can speak for the board, we consider essential and important to this community. And we consider it essential and important that these two organizations work together and get along. And so that's what we want to encourage. And what we'd like to know is, we'd like to get an idea of what the dispute is about. And of course, the mayor has already pointed out we want to do this in a civil manner. We don't want to be mad with each other. If there's a difference, if you can point out what those differences are, that'll give us a chance to think about it, and maybe you think about it and come up, hopefully you'll think about it and come up with some solutions to resolve the matter. So we want to ask Macon-Bibb Beautiful to come up and kind of give us an idea of what's going on from your perspective.
Good morning, sorry, I'm short. Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for this opportunity to come before you today. While I'm thankful for this opportunity, I apologize to each of you for whatever role that I have that have caused these events today. I, along with what I believe is the majority of Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, have worked diligently to resolve our internal concerns without the need of outside intervention. Certainly without the need of any of the proceedings of this, although I wish that these proceedings were not necessary, and my utmost concern is in twofold. I'm concerned for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission, for protecting what our organization has worked to achieve, and since I began working for this organization since 2012. I am concerned about clearing my name and the name of my commissioners for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful, who have striven to achieve and maintain respect in the name of our community. Unless there are any specific questions that you have for me, I would just like to find out what exactly that you all are the questions for us. Because honestly, I'm like you. I'm looking for answers.
Well, I don't know if I can necessarily have a question, but a comment. One of the things that concern me is that something is going on between Keep Macon Beautiful and Cherry Blossom, where I understand you occupy a space that you may not occupy in the future because of some disagreement. And what my interest is to see that somehow this is resolved so that we don't have this problem, because we need both these organizations moving forward and doing the work of the community, because you're both essential.
I could not agree with you more, Commissioner Bivens. I'm at the loss just like you are. I do occupy an office, a small office, and 2 closets, and the use of the restroom downstairs. I am the only employee for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful besides we have a bookkeeper who is not housed in the house. I'm downstairs. Cherry Blossom is upstairs.
Okay. But going forward, are you still going to have that office? Or?
I would assume that I would. There is a deed to the house. It's public record. It states that the house belongs to both. It says Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful, or Cherry Blossom Festival, and Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Mr. Tillman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to ask, since Mr. Bivens is chairing the meeting, if you could possibly keep his light on and yours, and perhaps y'all could switch seats so he can see when the buttons are meshed, so he'll know that a commissioner does have a question. If that's appropriate, or if he's fine with that, because the lights are on and he doesn't know when we may have a question or comment. So if he's fine with that.
Well, let me just ask the mayor to let us know when there's a button on. Cause when the times that I do sit there, I miss them sometimes anyway. So.
Okay. Well, you may have been asking a question or going on because you didn't know and not expecting a commissioner to say something. But I do have a question for Ms. Carswell.
So, Mr. Mayor, will you take care of those lights for us and let us know?
As they come on, I recognize, this thing is smarter than I am. It recognizes which light came on first and tells me, and I'm trying to call on them in order, but not to interrupt somebody that has the floor that is speaking. So I will certainly do my best to call on people in order without interrupting somebody that has the floor.
Just let me know.
Yes, sir.
2 questions for you, Ms. Carswell. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you for being here. Question number 1, and you can take them in any order. The first question is, we provide a budget to Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission. The number 1, the first question is, did the mayor ever direct you to provide a detailed budget to this commission? Is the first question. And then the second question is, at any time, when having questions or discussions with Cherry Blossom, did you ever agree to move out of the Cherry Blossom or the Pink Building?
Okay. Question number one, when in March, when the budgets are due, I supply with you my worksheet. It has broken down by our goal. I set it up by our SMART goals. We compare what we did the year before to what we did this year, and then our projected goals for next year. I always attach that with our budget. So it is. It comes in March when it's due, and is that the one you're speaking of? And it tells you all of our events. It gives you the number of volunteers. For example, Bring One for the Chipper is a Keep Georgia Beautiful event that we participate in every year. It's the Christmas tree recycling event. So it will be listed in there, and they'll tell you how many volunteers there were there. Did we use government volunteers, sponsors, and kind, so forth. So you do have a copy of that.
Right.
Comes in with our budget when we turn it in March.
So, was there any time that was stated for that budget request?
We receive an email every year from the Julie Moore's office telling us when it is due, and then once we pull all of the documents, put our budget together for the following year, then we will receive another email that will state that we will need to come and meet with Julie and several of her staff members to go over our budget request.
In your budget, is there any part-time staff included in your budget?
We had included to add a part-time staff for this year. That's why we asked for the increase in our budget this year. Have they been hired? Not yet, because the house has been under renovation, and we are looking to hire someone in the next before the next few weeks.
And the last question was,
your
at any time, did you have a discussion with the Cherry Blossom and agree to move out of the Pink House?
No, sir. I personally have not met with Cherry Blossom and spoken to anyone on the Cherry Blossom staff about moving out of the house. It was a surprise to me.
So if there is a... Okay, thank you. I have no...
Commissioner Lucas, your light is on next, and then there's one after you.
The first question is to the attorney. What's the arrangements in that lease? I'm sure since you're so prepared today on some other issues, you're prepared on that one as well. What's the lease call for?
Well, I'm not as prepared on that issue as you might think.
Oh.
I've read in the Telegraph.
I didn't ask him about that one.
I read yeah, he didn't ask me about that. I read in the Telegraph that what I read in the Telegraph that the property, the deed is in the name of the Macon Urban Development Authority, but apparently there's a provision in the deed that says that it's, and I'm just quoting when I read in the paper. I mean, I ain't quoting it. I'm remembering.
But we
that
don't
both
use
entities-
Macon Telegraph as
I know.
our
Yeah, I haven't looked at that.
legal source of information.
I have no idea. I have not looked at it. You know what the deed says. But I think the paper is why we don't. Yes, sir. I do ascribe great credit for the Telegraph. Amen. No, I'm just. But the Telegraph said it was to be. There's a provision that talks about use by both the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission and the Cherry Blossom.
But, Mr. Attorney, didn't you attend a meeting of Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful where that was discussed?
It was, but actually at that meeting it was discussed that the deed said it was in the name of both entities, which is not true. The deed actually says it's in the name of the, according to the Telegraph, the deed says it's in the name of the Urban Development Authority. So there's a difference. I mean, I would say that that the title is in the Urban Development Authority, but there is a provision that talks about use by both entities. And like Alex Morrison, who's the chairman of the Macon-Bibb County Urban Development Authority, said, the deed is a little unclear. I mean, but I haven't looked at. I have not looked at it. I've not been asked to. Nobody's asked me any questions about that deed, so I can't tell you. I cannot give a legal opinion regarding that deed.
Well, you have some information, so I'm certain that that would be appropriate to kind of take a look at it and see what the provisions are. Ms. Carswell, could you just kind of highlight 2 or 3 of your initiatives of Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful? I know you've been to one of our meetings and you've talked about specific projects or when you've received grants, but just generally what Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful is about.
I have today, and I can share this with you. We have our executive director from Keep Georgia Beautiful here. If I could introduce you to her at this time. Natalie Johnston Russell is from Atlanta. She is the executive director of Keep Georgia Beautiful, and our program director, Megan Whitehead. But if I could, I'll share with you, and this is not everything, because these are awards from, we won't get those until November, which we've applied.
Pam, you go back to, hand them all to me, and because we need your voice on the recorder. It not only amplifies, it records, so we would like to have you.
And my voice is very raspy today. But as you can look at the sheet that that Keep Georgia Beautiful pulled and also Keep America pulled, let's start from the back. I started this position actually in 2012. And if you all remember, that was before consolidation. And Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful at that time, and some of you were commissioners at that time for when we were in the county. And there was a time that budget time when Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful was in jeopardy of losing their funding. That's what I was told, and I read the paper, the Telegraph, like you all did. But at that time, I was retired. I was retiring as from the Bibb County school system as a 34-year educator in the last 20 years as a principal. So I came on board in the summer of 2012. And you see, we won the President's Circle Award. My first meeting with Keep Georgia Beautiful was in Serenbe, Georgia, and I met with Cecile Carson from Dallas, Texas, with Keep America Beautiful. And we sat down that night and looked at the activity that had been going on for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful. When I contacted Keep America Beautiful and Keep Georgia Beautiful, I said, can you all pull me any historical information that was going on prior to us taking over, prior to my hiring? There is very little activity that has gone on until I came on in 2000, actually the 13th year. As you can see, the first year in full operation, we engaged over 821 volunteers, events, engaged in 8,887 volunteer hours. And y'all have to understand, this is me by myself and our commissioners and the volunteers that I was able to gather very quickly because I am the only employee. We conducted 38 cleanup and waste reduction events. We collected 44,220 pounds of litter, 3,816 pounds of recyclables. We started conducting our youth event awards. We had 3 new adopt-a spots, and we are required by Keep America Beautiful to do the litter index in order to be in good standing. That year, we received the Governor's Honor Award in first place in the Litter Prevention Award. In 2014, we had over 1,015 volunteers, which have resulted at that year at 7,921 volunteer hours. We conducted 24 litter prevention events, conducted 5 beautification events. We collected 1,226 pounds of litter. The litter index score that year was at 2.26. The Education Committee received second place The litter prevention won in the nonprofit category. That's because through my efforts in the Bibb County school system and some of our private schools, in all of the 6 years, well, going into 6 years, we have been going into the schools, and that is what the biggest piece of our program is educating the community about litter prevention, recycling, and beautification. We have been in all the schools teaching that to our second graders. That year, we won first place affiliate award for the population, which we fall in the 150,000 population range, and we received the President's Circle Award. 2015, do you all want me to continue to go through? Okay. So you can see, and we have to record everything we do through Keep America Beautiful. What we do is we take what is required of us of Keep America Beautiful, and we make sure that we have to fulfill those objectives. And that's where I have to follow those guidelines as well as work for our community, what is best that I can see in our community in those 3 areas.
Okay, and you say you have how many on your staff?
Me and a part-time bookkeeper, me. And yes, ma'am.
Keeper's not even in the building.
No, ma'am.
What's that arrangement about? How was that?
We had made a decision that we felt it was best that we have our own bookkeeper. There was just felt like it was a good move.
Okay, but you share the bookkeeper with?
No, not now. No, we do not share. I do not share anything with Cherry Blossom Festival at this time. No, ma'am, except I'm in the house where my office is.
Okay.
But we do not share any staff this time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Allen's light was on next. Commissioner Allen?
Thank you. Ms. Carswell, we know you get all these national awards, and we appreciate the young lady from Atlanta coming and her staff. And one question I have for you of several. Of all these awards, how many other cities throughout the United States, and I know when Carolyn's created this some years ago, she received all kind of awards, and she had, I don't know if she had one staff person, just her doing it, or a lot of volunteers, but in other cities, especially in Georgia, how many have just one person or 1.5 person working doing that?
Do you mind if I ask
It'd be fine.
her to come up,
I don't
please?
have a problem.
As Pam said, I'm Natalie Johnston-Russell, Executive Director for the Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation.
Could you pull the mic up, please?
Can you hear me? Any better?
Speak into the mic.
Any better?
Thank you.
Needed to get closer. A good many of the organizations are that way. A good many of the organizations, the staff is pretty minimal throughout Georgia, where there may be an executive director and a couple of part-time people, perhaps. But that's more the rule than the exception.
And is that basically done all over the states with just one person basically running an organization as large, it does as much as they do?
It's a combination. Not everyone is set up the same way. I will tell you, I've been on the job for 1 month, so I'm learning each organization within Georgia so far. As I'm meeting everybody, I see no one has a huge staff. A few have a couple of individuals, maybe one part-time, 2 part-time. A few have more than that as well, but it's a combination.
Thank you. Ms. Carswell, I've got...
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
I think you're kind of looking for a comparison. Albany, Georgia has part-time help. Also, they have part-time help in Warner Robins. I'm just thinking about my affiliates in my network. Athens-Clarke County has a full-time educational specialist, like what we were seeking to hire for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful. Most of your Atlanta affiliates, because they're all divided up like Cobb and Eastman, most of them have some form of assistance, whether it's assistance from the government entity, because some are tied in with, like Athens-Clarke County. They are tied in with their solid waste department, so they have access to those people. Columbus even had part-time.
We do not.
No, sir. It's just me.
Okay, the last question I have, this is to the meat, cut to the meat. Is there a personality conflict within the organizations that caused us to be here, that we're all adults, that's caused us to be here today? Because from everything I've read, everything I've heard, people that have called me, it seems like personality plays a major role in what's going on with the organizations.
Again, this is just perception. I don't know concretely. I'm just saying this is perception. But the way the organizations have set up, you have Cherry Blossom Festival and Keep Making Big Beautiful folks all on the same board. And on our executive board has both folks, maybe you could say on both. I don't know if that has anything to do with this or not.
In my opinion, I feel that having someone on two boards that's in the same building is ludicrous. I mean, I can't see how that works, because you might have an idea and then take it to the other board, and then you want to change over.
Well,
how does that occur?
And I want to say this. I think also there's some city officials that serve possibly on that board as well, on the Cherry Blossom board. The way it was set up by Ms. Creighton, if you were the chair of the Keep Making Big Beautiful board, in other words, you have a courtesy seat, I guess that's what you would say, on the Cherry Blossom board. Well, our executive board as it existed was our chair served on Cherry Blossom. Jean Bragg also served as our treasurer-elect on Keep Making Big Beautiful. She also served on the finance committee for both Cherry Blossom and Keep Making Big Beautiful. Teresa Robinson, who was a chair-elect for Keep Making Big Beautiful, also served on the Cherry Blossom board. The only person on our executive board that was not connected to the Cherry Blossom organization was Carol Grant, who is our chair-elect for this year, next year.
Would you not say it's hard to serve two masters with two boards in one building?
I would think so.
Me
yes.
too. And
yes,
I think this
Yes.
body here ought to relook at the number of people that's on the board from the county, which y'all supposed to be separate entities, which was told earlier. And I'm gonna hope we bring that up in our executive session we have in 2 weeks. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tillman's light was on next. Commissioner Tillman?
I mean, I'm gonna make sure I just hear from everybody before I start making recommendations. I would just caution all of us, let's do that. Let's hear from everybody before we make a recommendation. Question, Keep Making Beautiful Commission and the Cherry Blossom Executive Board chairperson is the chairperson of both boards. Did I hear you say that?
No.
So
the chair for if you're the chair for Keep Making
Big. So who is the chair for Keep Making Beautiful Commission?
Mr. Adam Cochran. Therefore, he has a seat on the Cherry Blossom board. He's on their executive board. It's my understanding.
And who's the chair for the Cherry Blossom board?
Mr. Don Bailey.
Okay. And final question.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm probably one of the recipients over the years for Keep Making Beautiful Commission. And I've heard and read and know all the great work y'all do. So this is my question.
Okay.
Why are we here?
That's a good question, Mr. Tillman. Very good question. I don't know. It was brought to my attention that Cherry Blossom, from what I've read in the paper and what was told at my meeting on back last couple of weeks ago, that Cherry Blossom wanted us to us, well, it's just me, to move out because there was some internal issues going on with Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful, which I was very taken back. I didn't know I don't know how they received information, what was going on our side, because I certainly don't know what's going on the Cherry Blossom side, and I don't make it my business to know because I'm about the day-to-day operations for Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful and being out there for the city, for our citizens of Macon, doing my job.
Thank you.
So I have no idea.
I have no more questions. I yield back to the chairman.
Commissioner Watkins' light was on next. Commissioner Watkins.
Thank you, sir. A few questions. I know that your budget is about 110, 100 and some change.
Mhm.
And I don't want to ask what your salary is, but I'm curious. You do a lot of, like in 2017, a lot of volunteer coordinating, a lot of events. What is your operations or program budget?
Well, everything we receive from you all is it's used for operations. My salary, I get a car allowance, and I also get a telephone allowance. I make $58,000 a year. That's it.
So are there other revenue sources? I'm understanding.
I write a lot of grants. I can share this with you.
So we give 110. Your
Right,
total.
and that's for operational fund operation. We pay 20% of all the expenses in the house. That would be the water, the electricity, the phones, any type of those types of expenses. We pay 20%.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, your total. So I know that you receive 110 from the county.
Right.
On an annual basis, your total operating budget ends up being how much?
We use, we can carry it over at the end of the year. We usually have around about 8,000. I try to be very conservative with the funding, and it just depends. It varies from year to year. Sometimes we carry 8,000 over. Sometimes we might have 12,000. It just depends. I try to get a lot of in-kind donations. I try to get a lot of through grants.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking.
I get a lot.
When we
You
put
wouldn't believe the number of citizens in Macon that just give donations. Last year alone, let's see, in 2016-17, we received $67,500 in grants, $18,000 in sponsorship money, and over $30,000 just in in-kind donations. And we have to report all of this up to Keep America Beautiful.
Right. So how much do we spend to get your volunteer? Just talk to me a little bit about your process for 2017. Like to get the volunteers engaged and the trash collected. What is your community outreach budget? I don't know if that's the right line item, but
the community outreach budget, it varies. What we do
what was it?
for 17, we just finished. We just finished it because you have to understand we've transitioned, and what we're looking at with this new budget at $110,250, we were going to appropriate $4,800 for the bookkeeper, and then around $15,000 to $20,000 for the part-time person, and then the rest of it will go into actual, like I said, the operational piece of it, and it goes back into the community. Say, for example, we put the sago palm downtown. We plant flowers downtown. We put trees, and we work with partnerships in that way. Everything we make goes back into the community.
Right.
That's the funding that goes back in.
So I guess let's say 60 minus the 20. What is that? What are you looking at, about 10?
Right. When you take out the salaries, then you take out all of the operational expenses, what we usually have to work, and then we have our travel expenses because Ms. Creighton, we still pay for her travel expenses, and she does attend. I'm trying to figure out
how much for 2017, and it
Will
seems
we
like
use of the budget?
right? How much did we use in community?
We
outreach?
used everything last
How
year.
much is everything? I guess is what I'm.
Well, when you take in your salaries and you take in your operational expenses,
That's all of that. How much was spent in community outreach programs?
community outreach programs, I would say a good over 40% goes back into the community, 40% or more.
So 40,000 ish. Well, she ready.
Let me see here. Let's see here. Okay. We budgeted for, say, beautification. We budgeted that at 10,000. We have budgeted for the educational program. We were to receive a grant, but we have not received that money, so that money will have to come out of operational funds this year to fund that program. And to fund that program, you're looking at almost 8,000. So then we have that expense that comes out. Then as far as our recycling, we try to get we had some printing costs last year, which to average, we partnered with the solid waste when we did, and we're continuing to meet with different residents throughout the community to tell them about the curbside recycling. So I developed it, we printed, we put that out there, so we did have some printing costs there. We had printing costs for our litter hotline, which was around $300. We pay for our web page out of this. That is $350 a month. Then we also we have dues that we have to appropriate for, which is around $1,500 for that. Postage, we buy our own postage. We appropriated $675 for that. Then we've had to apply this year. In the past, we have shared office supplies for our own office. We used to share with Cherry Blossom, but we're not doing that anymore. So that means like copy paper. So I would imagine that would run about $1,000 a month. And we paid for billboards last year, and they're $1,000, say, for our $1,200 for 10.
So if I'm understanding, and thank you for that. So like, talk to me a community cleanup event, like the 43 that we did, that would come out of the beautification
right.
account.
Anything we needed, like gloves, we've had to purchase. We were using cloth gloves, but there's such risk with sanitary. We decided that it was best, and we talked about it. Some of the affiliates and I, we were going to go to disposable gloves. So we have to buy those. I just went to Home Depot and spent close to $600 on new grabbers because they break and they have to be repaired. And we spent...
The event, I mean, it's got to be important. You use, so to get 1,600 volunteers at 43 events.
How do I do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We partner. A lot of our volunteers come from Mercer University. We just worked with them last couple of weeks ago for Be a Good Neighbor. I had a whole group with me. Then there were several groups throughout town. I provided every supply that I had. We also supplied some for the Shalom zones. We were out in Unionville. We were out off of North Macon. We had a group down off of Bloomfield. So we were everywhere. And I work a lot with the Macon-Bibb government, with Parks and Beautification and Solid Waste, because if I run out of supplies, I will call Sam or Kevin and say, hey, do y'all have any more vests? I'm out. So we kind of we kind of work together on what we have to share. But a lot of you have to understand, I'm ongoing replying now. I do receive bags from Keep America Beautiful, the black garbage bags, and we have black ones and white ones to give out. But if I have a group that's going to be like cleaning, I'll have to go out and buy cleaning supplies. So all of that comes out of that operational money.
Thank you. Okay,
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Commissioner Tillman, I got your light on again.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think the more this goes on, it raises more questions, even for me. These groups have worked so well in this community, but just got a question, and I got a question for you, and then a question for the CPA. You get a car allowance and travel.
The travel is for our, we call it our hotel.
What I'm saying is a car allowance and travel, meaning you get a car, first of all, you get a car allowance.
It's, the
A
car.
travel car allowance. That's yes or no?
Yes, but
Okay.
it's very minimal.
And then you also, we take care of travel, not hotel, but you get mileage as well.
If I leave Macon, say if I have to go to Atlanta, or we have a meeting once a year in Jekyll Island.
So I guess what I'm asking is, a car allowance is just automatically included. That's a budget that's set.
Right.
If you go on a trip or somewhere, then you also would get travel.
They pay for our, if it's flight travel, like last year we went to Washington for Keep America Beautiful, yes, they pay for our, mine and Miss Creighton's airline ticket to fly.
Okay. Question for CPA. Let's do in the book. In the world of CPA, the requirement when one is filing at the end of the year for travel or whatever, is it that you're supposed to get, you either get mileage depending on the year of the use of your car, or you get the allowance? Tell me how does it work, because I've never heard of somebody getting both. And in your world, how do you categorize it when you're writing it, or how would you justify it? I mean, you tell me as a CPA.
Well, typically you either receive a car allowance or you receive mileage if you use your car. Travel is the travel out of town into Washington D.C. I'm assuming that would require.
Well, we're just talking about the car. We're just talking about the car. So go back again and clear it up. Either what now? From a CPA standpoint, say it again. Can you get close to the mic? Justin, she's fine. She just needs to get close to the mic.
The car allowance is just for the use of her car gas around town to the different.
No, not her. Just from overall a CPA standpoint of if you have a car, because I have a car and I have a CPA. So again, in the world of CPA, what's required? What are you supposed to get?
A car allowance is just for the use of the car. If you turn in mileage, then you're going to turn in your miles and you get a standard mileage amount for that.
Right.
They're
Right.
separate.
So you're not supposed to get both?
No, sir.
Okay, just don't clear it up. Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner
No.
Lucas, I've got your light on now.
My question pertains to the meeting that was held, and whereas I would prefer, I don't know whether this is going to come up in executive session, so I'm just going to throw it out there. The meeting that was held, that was widely publicized, seemed like it was a contentious meeting, to say the least. Were you expecting the additional folks who attended, or was this a meeting of your board, your executive committee? What was this?
This was our regular Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful monthly meeting. We were surprised, yes.
Okay, who else attended that meeting? Who else came in to the meeting?
Besides who all came that day?
Besides those who would normally be expected to attend the meeting, who else came?
When I arrived, at sitting as you walk into the door, it was Stacy was Campbell Moore was sitting in a chair there's a back. We meet at the terminal station. There's a long conference table in the back, and then we have kind of like a U shape where all the commissioners sit, and the overflow sits in the back. And Don Bailey was standing, and I had gone to get lunch because we always serve lunch, and when I walked up with all the pizzas, I went inside and I spoke and I said, I don't know kind of why y'all are here. This is a KMBBC meeting, and we were just going to meet because we were going to internally work through some of the issues that we were having. At that time, I turned around, and first in line was Chris Floor, second coming down the hall, then behind him was Julie Moore, behind Julie was Judd, and behind Judd was Jensen.
Okay, did you know those folks were going to attend?
No, ma'am, I had no idea.
Did anybody else in there know that they were going to attend?
No, my commissioners didn't know. There could have been someone else that knew that they were coming.
Okay.
I don't know.
Do any of those folks serve on your board?
The folks that came in?
The Julie, Chris.
No.
I know the attorney
No.
doesn't.
No, ma'am. None of them are on the KMBBC commission.
Okay. Why did they indicate they were there?
They told me they were sent because I asked. I said, "Where are y'all? Where are y'all going?" They said, "We are coming here. We've been sent from the mayor, by the mayor, to attend this meeting." And the tone was like, "What is going on?" Because I remember some of my commissioners were outside, and I looked at them and I said, "What's going on?" And they said, "We don't know. We have no idea." And I was completely, just like I said, I had no clue they were coming in. And the tone that they came in was like, was actually, what's going on today? Because I did not know.
Okay, so what was their message? Because that sounds like the three wise men and a woman delivering a message. What was the message?
Hold on just a minute. You know me, I always write everything down. Let me go back to that date. Okay.
The two wise men, just two of them. Well, two then.
Okay. I'm just going to read you from my notes, okay? It was on October the 19th, and exactly what happened. I stood up and asked everyone to partake in lunch, and then Chris Floor went first, and he stated that he was present on behalf of the mayor's office, and he stated that there was, let me find out where I was, that he was sent by the mayor's office, and that he said that the county had received many calls about a lack of litter pickups, and that the mayor was upset and was disappointed that this had come to his attention, and that KMBBC had 90 days to come up with a litter prevention plan and present it to the city, or the county would be possibly pulling our allotted fund for 2018.
Okay, this is Chris Floor, our public affairs person, delivering financial information to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Go on.
And after Chris made that statement, the tone was just so abrasive, like we had done something wrong. And all the commissioners are looking at each other like, what's going on? And they're looking at me for answers, and I was just in the dark as they were. And then Julie came up, and she reported that she had heard that there had been problems, and she was looking for the audit. It says if any report that was required that had not been submitted, Ms. Moore's statement during this meeting were first. I heard of such a problem of concern. Ms. Moore received FYI's audit in March, and that's along with the budget proposal, and she said it was late and she didn't have it. And I said, well, normally we don't turn it in until the audit goes in with the budget proposal. And I was really taken back why that was, why she was asking me that. She also said, KMBBC is in process. I said, I told her that we were in the process of changing over with a new finance director, and it had been very difficult for us to get our financial reports. Cherry Blossom had sent an email from Don Bailey through Adam Cochran saying that we could not have any conversation with Cherry Blossom, and staff could not. So it was very difficult for me to get the financial statements so we could finish closing out our books. She also stated that she had not received our monthly reports. I explained to her that they were coming. I think I'd do better if I could just read everything to you because I have it in sequential order here. At KMBBC's last board meeting on October 19th, KMBB commissioners were addressed by Judd Drake, Jansen Hurd, Julie Moore, and Chris Floor, who stated that he was present at the meeting on the behalf of the mayor's office. Mr. Drake discussed policies and procedures, while Ms. Head commented on the board chair-elected Carol Grant, and I had a visit with her back on September the 19th to bring several concerns to her attention. Ms. Moore said that there are concerns about KMBBC finances and statements. She said, where are your monthly financials? Where is your audit? And she had a folder, and she was just kind of swinging it, and she said, you have been performing tasks that are required here regarding litter pickup. What activities are happening, Ms. Moore said, and she said, we are supposed to receive this report. In regards to her questions, I said to inform her that the process was changing to a new accountant for that. And any report that was required had been submitted. Ms. Moore's statements during this meeting were the first time I had heard of such problems and concerns. Ms. Moore, again, was talking about the audit and wanted to know where it was and so forth. And I explained to her that the audit is in process. We have submitted many documents, and it takes a while. We submit documents, they email back, and so we are in that process right now.
Okay, I think we got the gist of that. So, what was the attorney's function there?
Well, he was very cordial. He said, I'm not really sure why I'm here. I was called this morning to come down here, and he was explaining about KMBBC and the resolution and what we have and how it worked. And basically, he was very calm, very, very cordial.
Because he didn't know why.
He didn't know. He said, I don't really know why I'm here, but I was told to come today. And so then Jansen came. She said, I'm not sure why I'm here, but they were all there. Yes, ma'am.
Jansen is
assistant attorney.
Assistant attorney.
Mm-hmm. And I still don't know about this 90-day. No one has sent me anything in writing regarding any of these things. So I don't know if I am to do this. There are no guidelines. There are from what Mr. Floor asked us to do. I don't know what that is.
Mr. Floor is public affairs. He does not have that authority. And it cannot be delegated to him. Okay. My concerns are still there, and I think we would have been wise today to have had that executive session. I am pained because we've had to ask questions in public. It would have been so much nicer for us to have been in private, in the conference room, to deal with these kinds of things, because it's my fear that there's some damage that's being done. But there was even more damage being done out there by folks talking and telling their version all over the place. And that is why we as commissioners felt like we needed to be at least in the loop, because as you've heard, we get a lot of our information from the Macon Telegraph, and it should not be that way. We should know what's going to be in the newspaper, where government is concerned, because we're asked to fund these things or to approve these things. This has been interesting information. I do hope that once we do go into executive session next week, we are able to put a stop to the turmoil, what's going on, because it's obvious somebody's stirring up some stuff, and we don't need two entities like that need to be working together, that both receive taxpayers' money. We don't need those folks to be at each other. And so I think our role is going to be I know the charter gives the mayor the authority over a whole lot of stuff, but we're elected too, and we're concerned that two entities are having some situations, and it's obvious that this meeting was not handled properly, and the wrong personnel were in place delivering messages and all of that. And I think we can deal with that in executive session as well, when we deal with personnel and what their job description says and what it does not say. But I personally, I just want there not to be any future animosity between these two entities. If there is, we might as well just disband both of you. If you can't get it together with we need to be a part of assisting, but we need to disband and start over if we can't work it. I know y'all volunteer, most of you. One or two get a salary, and you give of your heart. You're concerned about the community, and you want to see what's best for the community. But this is not going to work for the citizens if we can't come to some agreement on this whole thing. So I'm willing to help, and I do hope that when we go into executive session next week, that's too long to wait, but we've gotta wait, that we will be able to come up with something. In the meantime, I do hope that everybody's gonna use the building, that nobody's gonna be telling somebody else they can't be in a building when it's not their building, to tell anybody that. And that's just me talking.
I agree with you 100%.
There
was a meeting the day before ours, and we understand there was a couple of KMBB executive board members that attended a meeting with Cherry Blossom Festival, and they had an attorney there and said they all signed a confidentiality letter that said that they couldn't tell us what went on in that meeting. And it's like, well, that's not working together.
Okay, that's another example of what should not be happening.
Exactly.
And
Thank you, Ms. Lucas.
We just need to put a stop to it, or I will be in line to vote to defund the whole thing and start over if we can't get it right. This is serving an important function, all of you do, and we want that function to bubble back up to the surface. So
I do want to say, I think some people don't understand our mission, and we deal with, our purpose is to provide a better quality of life for all the citizens of Macon through litter prevention, recycling, and beautification. We are providing educational is our biggest component of our organization, is about educating the community the right choices. A lot of the things I've read in the paper think that our main purpose is to get out and pick up trash. That is only one small entity of this organization. And we do that through our volunteers. But we do beautification projects. We do also recycling projects. And I want to say, Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful works collaboratively with Parks and Beautification, Sam Kitchens, Solid Waste, Kevin Barkley, Rob Riles. We work with him. We work with each other. And if they have a problem, if I have called Sam and said, hey, I know I was on Riverside Drive. Do you want to get that one this weekend, or do you want me to send my volunteers out? But when I got land blasted that day, and they're telling me they're getting phone calls, and no one gave me the opportunity to even put my volunteers out there or reach out to folks to fix it, I can't fix it. I can't fix it if I don't know about it. But I can tell you we have a great relationship with all of these other departments in Macon-Bibb. We work together as a team. And I don't even know if they're in this house today. I don't even know if they're here. But if they are here, I can't thank them enough because we text each other. We take care of each other collaboratively together. And like I said, if I don't know about it, I can't fix it.
Right.
And I have resources where I can fix it.
If we don't have any other lights,
Yeah, we do.
I have, yes, Commissioner Bechtel is next, and I have two waiting after Commissioner Bechtel.
Am I recognized?
You are, sir.
Since Assistant County Manager Julie Moore is with us today, I'd like to have her comment on some of the things that were said to bring some clarification, if that's appropriate.
I would say so.
Thank you. Yes. Can you hear me? Is this where I need to be? Thank you for the opportunity to address some of what you've just heard, which I think if you wanted to have a review of how that meeting happened, you could probably check News Channel 41 that was there to talk about what happened as we were going to an open meeting by Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful with some concerns that had been brought to us, not just in writing, not just in someone coming and calling, but because we had some concerns that were brought to us in writing. So in an attempt not to address any of gossip or she said or he said, we were trying to address what was in writing that had been presented to this hallway, and we wanted to give the opportunity for a very divided board to think about how they could get back on the same page by making sure that they were following the agreement that they had signed with us for the $110,000. So I would beg to differ with the description of what Pam said happened that day, because in all actuality, our county attorney stood up first and said, we've been presented with a document, and he did very graciously, as he always does in tough, difficult situations, said, we have reviewed it, and in looking at this document, I want you to be sure that you are doing what your code of ordinances says, and if you're asking for some resignations of other board members, that's not really in your purview, because that's the purview of the commissioners at 700 Poplar Street. Secondly, the commissioner, Pam referenced that Jadson was there as well, but that was because there was something in the document that referenced a conversation with the county attorney's office, and they wanted to clarify what they had interpreted in that conversation, and that it was not what was reflected in the document that we were given. Thank you. I stood up then to say, make sure that we are paying attention to the work you are supposed to be doing. Your work is KMBB, and you signed an agreement for this $110,000, and you need to go back through the agreement, and let's focus on that work. Let's not focus on this document that is calling out lots of other people and relies a lot on gossip, but let's look at the document that you signed and said that you would be willing to do. One of the things that we needed to make sure we were pointing out to them is that they are required to have an open meeting. They're supposed to notify the press before they have these meetings. They need to make sure that they are following all the rules about anything to do with a monthly financial, an audit that they might have, but they also need to know that any unused fund from this year, because we did give them an increase so that they could hire part-time personnel, which they have not done, according to that contract, that portion of the funding would come back next year. It does not just roll over. So we were trying to keep on track where they were going. Chris did say that he had a message from the mayor to please come together and get a plan in the next 90 days of how we focus on litter. It is a concern of the commissioners. You all have expressed that concern in almost every single meeting, whether it's about blight, whether it's about litter pickup, and any other opportunity. We know that we are trying to clean this city up. Additionally, we had some people say in that meeting that she had some activities that were going on that weekend, that they had been planned, which is great. We want to see that. But we want the clarification that it's not just counting other people's work, that it's not just looking at what our departments do, who could certainly use some additional dollars, and it's not just what other organizations are doing that you're taking credit for. Collaborative work is very difficult. You have to have everybody signed on and feel part of that collaborative work. They don't like it when they get out and do the hard work and then someone else takes credit for it. We received a letter the following week, which is an example of that, saying that there are other groups who work very hard to keep litter picked up and that they could use more resources, and they don't appreciate it when other people take credit for their work. So these were all, I think, appropriate comments to make to the larger board, because it's important that the board works together and not against one another. I have copies of all those documents if you would like to look at them, and I am just trying to make sure that we are holding people accountable for the money that we give out. And I would be happy to answer any further questions you have.
Commissioner Bechtel, anything further from you, sir?
No, sir.
Commissioner Watkins, your light is on. Did you want to ask Ms. Moore a question? Well, hold on. Did any other commissioner want to ask Ms. Moore a question? Then Commissioner Lucas, let me call on you first.
Why did you choose the meeting, the open meeting, with the media present to deal with those particular issues?
Their contract
Why
is
not
media
in a meeting? She has an office. You have an office.
Because in that meeting, on their agenda, was a description of who was part of a discovery committee and the document that they were going to give out. And we were trying to make sure that they understood that the document that they were to be received as it was printed on their agenda was a document that had some errors in it. It's not something they could have moved forward with to ask for the resignation. It is not appropriate for them to have had some of these things in documents that seem kind of back and forth, and we wanted to point out the pieces that we knew about. And what we knew about was that you needed to not misrepresent a conversation with the county attorney's office, and in an effort to keep everybody on the same page, please focus on the work you're supposed to be doing, following the contract that you have signed, and make sure that you don't let this get out and become a bigger issue than it needs to be.
And you thought that it was a better place to do it in that open meeting with the media than in your office with the folks and with the attorney
For this exact
there.
reason, because you like to be open and I like to be open, and they were getting ready to hand the document out as it was stated on their agenda. And we wanted to make sure they understood before they saw that document that there were real inconsistencies in the document. There was nothing to be stopped in my office. It was being presented according to their agenda.
How
in
long
that meeting.
were you aware of the document before the meeting?
Maybe 48 hours, but we didn't know it was going to be presented until we saw that there was an agenda printed that said it was going to be presented. They have an agenda. I have the copies if you'd like one.
Yeah, I would like to see them. Are they all signed? Is there a signature of a person on those, on the letter that you referenced?
There is an agenda that states on the top who's part of the discovery committee.
Let me ask you, please, just to hand all of those here. Because we need you so the microphone picks up your comments, Julie. And we'll
This
pass
is
them
the
down.
reason why this should have been an executive session, because we're putting people in a situation of kind of, them being on the witness stand and us asking all of this, and I really would.
Yes, I also think it would have been appropriate in their meeting to have had an executive session with that instead of disclosing the document.
You could have asked them to have that.
I could have.
You could have, because you handled the budget, and I'm sure had you asked them to go into executive session, they would have done that. Then you could have dismissed the media and had a meeting and shared with them rather than in the public, like we're sitting up here doing now, these kinds of
The
things.
other difference I would say is that meeting actually did not open with us. It opened with a conversation from the board chair, Adam Cochran, and discussions that they had about other executive committee meeting opportunities. And so we were, at that point, about to see something disclosed that you needed to have a heads up that it wasn't wholly accurate.
Anything else, Commissioner Lucas, from you at this point?
So what I've included for you is a copy of their agenda from that day, the discovery letter that was submitted to the mayor's office. You also have a letter attached from a community group who felt like their work was being usurped, and you also have a copy of the contract of the things that we were referencing.
I think there are lessons learned from all of this. In the future, I don't think anybody's going to want to come out in this venue to air this kind of stuff. So I think some better decisions about the delivery of information, some better decisions will be made in the future, at least I hope. Because we're supposed to put out fires, not,
Again, this was an attempt to put out a fire.
Anything further, Commissioner Lucas, at this point?
Not at this point. I look forward to the executives.
Commissioner Watkins, I have your light next, and then Commissioner Allen.
As we've talked, I've heard and learned a few things. And I'm curious, could someone just elaborate on, I mean, you had a lot of heavies at your meeting. And there was one point that you mentioned there's to be no communications between the organizations that I'm curious about. Yes. And also, more importantly, you mentioned board resignation, and I'm looking at a motion for the resignation here in this meeting minute. So, could someone elaborate a little bit as to what was happening on both of those instances?
Okay. What now? I'm sorry.
That's a great point. Is the chairman of the board currently here?
He is, Mr. Cochran.
What you doing? So yeah, you wanted to resign, if I'm understanding this correctly?
That's incorrect.
Elaborate as to what happened. There was a motion for your resignation?
No. Ultimately, let's go back a little bit to get some accuracies. The chairman of the Cherry Blossom Committee, Cherry Blossom Festival, Don Bailey, asked the executive board to meet to discuss some issues at the House. Their attorney was there and ultimately asked us to sign a confidentiality clause about what was going to be said. We did that at his request. It was our executive board. I emailed that out to our executive board. In doing that, the very next day, I presented to our board, full board, what had been asked and left that open to discussion. Now, going forward, there was a discovery board that was formed that was never brought to the executive board for even approval of a committee.
Who formed the committee? How does that work in y'all organization?
Well, ultimately, you have to have to form a committee, that would be brought from either people from the board or the chairman's or the president and CEO, bring it to the executive board. That was never brought to the executive board to form this committee. And then this committee went and delivered a document that we never saw, was never questioned about, was never asked any questions on, and submitted to the mayor's office.
If it adds to what is a discovery committee and why would that? So did you approve the discovery committee?
Yes, sir. Let me explain to you what happened.
Didn't discuss it with your board chairman?
There has been a sequence of events that have gone on within the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission.
I'm very curious at this point.
So what I did is at one of our commission meetings, after we finished, Carol Grant, who was the chair-elect, she finished her report, and she asked if all of the department heads and guests that were attending, we thanked them for coming and asked them to leave. At that time, I shared with the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission a sequence of events that had been going on that I had been documenting within our organization. So from that, they all heard what was going on. They suggested that we put a group together, our commissioners, to look at all of the things that had been occurring and collecting, and that is where we did. I was very transparent, I was very open, and the commissioners of KMBBC were very involved in this process.
Okay, so the Discovery Committee's purpose was what?
The Discovery Committee was looking at all the sequence of events that had gone on within our organization, and we felt because there were 4 key people in our organization that was trying to break down KMBBC. And there was a sequence of events of things that have occurred of that happening. So with that in mind, they went through all the I don't want to call it evidence, but all the sequence of events, what was going on. And that was the day that we were to meet and discuss it as a meeting within our commissioners, and the Discovery Committee was going to give a recommendation what they felt was best for our organization. It had nothing to do with Cherry Blossom Festival. That is my concern. How did they get involved in what was going on in our organization? Someone had to continue to tell them what was happening within KMBBC.
Well, we hadn't heard from Cherry Blossom yet, and
Right.
I'm still very
And
interested.
they have nothing to do with what was going on internally with us,
Okay, so
to my knowledge.
let me get an understanding.
Mhm.
You have an executive board, and it seems as though all your leaders of your executive board were called out by the Discovery Committee that was created by your authority, if I'm understanding correctly?
We sat down, they talked about it, yes, and they asked me, could we do this? And I said, yes, we need to be transparent because people needed to know what was going on within.
So let me.
Yes, I sent the letter, Commissioner Watkins, yes.
Okay, and most of the time, there's a board chairman and executive board, and then the CEO or the director is their employee. So is that not how your board works?
Well, again, if you go back and you heard me earlier, the executive board has, Adam, they're all in together.
Yes, so again, does your
Commissioner
board work in a manner
Watkins
where,
has the floor.
how does your board work? Because are you the employee of the executive board of KMBBC or the entire commission, or is there another chain?
I am the presidency of our organization. Mr. Cochran serves as the chair. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the chairman presides over those committee meetings, correct?
Yes, he does, but he's very difficult. It was very difficult to communicate with him.
May or may not be true, but he is your chairman, so.
He is the chair, but it's difficult when there's a breakdown in communication. Yes, sir.
The chairman, there was a committee formed that didn't have an official vote taken, that then made a recommendation to remove the chairman?
No, sir. There was no vote. There was no recommendation made. I know that's very confusing.
No, it's not confusing. It's just wrong.
No,
That's
there was
not
no
how
vote.
organizations are
There was
supposed to
no
work.
recommendation.
So continuing this line, the resignation of board members. How did this conversation begin?
It was at the end of the meeting that day. Jean Bragg announced that she was resigning, and she also resigned for Billy Oliver, and that's all that happened. I don't know any more.
Okay, so I would like to speak to Mr. Cochran. Just
Okay.
the same question. What's happening? Was it a voluntary resignation on your part?
So
or-
after the meeting on the 19th, where Judd and Julie and all them came and spoke, at the end of the meeting, 2 of our executive board members did resign. There are still 3 in effect, and we have 2 that have resigned. Yes, sir.
Any indication as to why they would resign? And I know these names. These are true Macon-ites.
They are. No, they just felt like that was the wishes of they. You can ask them, but I don't want to speak for either of them.
If you don't mind, you seem like you were considering it at some point.
I'm tired. I've been on the commission 7 years. I believe in this commission. I believe in what it stands for. Ultimately, though, it's one of those situations where it doesn't seem like the board is going in the direction that sometimes I think it needs to go. And as the chairman, just as the other day when I told the full board what was asked of us from the executive board of the Cherry Blossom Festival, I left it up to them. I asked them what is the best option. I'm not giving you advice. I'm asking for all input. And it seems like there's an inability. Understand, our board does not have any bylaws. No bylaws. So it's really ineffectiveness of a board to do a lot. We have ordinances, but it's really almost impossible sometimes to effectively move into proper direction without these. Now, these have happened, our commission's been in for 30, 40 years, and it's been like this since I got here. So this is something that's been going on for a long, long time. They referenced earlier about sitting on multiple boards. I didn't go out in politics to get on the Cherry Blossom board. It was just what had always been done. So ultimately, where other people sitting on multiple boards, that's just the way it was and the way I came into it.
Further questions, Commissioner Watkins?
I yield for the moment. I know.
Okay. Commissioner Allen, your light was on next, sir.
Mr. Allen, question. How long have you been chairman of the board?
Year and a half.
Okay. Are you familiar with the with the rules and regulations governing a 501c3, 501c1, and correction of the different other organizations and nonprofits?
I do.
Are you familiar that they should have had bylaws in place, which they do not have?
We don't have bylaws. We do have ordinances that we go by, but we don't have bylaws.
But in my understanding of the state and federal, you should have bylaws. Have anyone at the state or on the federal level looked, because you have to file with them every year with your being a nonprofit 501c3, and a lot of people don't know that y'all are a nonprofit.
We're a 501c1.
Well, yeah, I'm a C3, but a 501c1 still falls in the same guidelines as any nonprofit. But you're doing anything with the state or you filling out your federal papers, you need to have that done, and you should have bylaws for that. I think your accountant that's there, your CPA should tell you about that too. Is that not right, ma'am? That's exactly she just said yes. It's supposed to be done. One thing that I would recommend to you, because this will be in the paper, the state, if it picks up on it, they're going to be asking you where your bylaws are. And the federal feds could also be asking where your bylaws are.
We have a resolution because we're a one. But we will double check on that. KMBBC has a resolution.
Okay.
Further questions?
We will definitely check
Commissioner
on
Allen?
that, Commissioner Allen.
That's all the lights that I have on at this point. Mayor Pro Tem, back to you. Does this conclude your portion, or does this conclude this portion?
Yeah, I think this concludes this portion. Thank you, all of you, for coming, and those who've made some comments. I mean, this has been somewhat enlightening to us, I think, and hopefully going forward, we can get all this worked out. Next, though, we do want to hear from the Cherry Blossom Festival board,
right?
And we asked the same thing. I mean, as the mayor mentioned,
what I would ask for, Mayor Pro Tem, with your, I'd like to ask for a motion for a 5-minute recess. Is there objection to a 5-minute recess before the Cherry Blossom starts? Here now, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Please be back with us at 7 minutes after 1. We are in recess.
I had to go already.
Appreciate your comments.
I mean, and it wasn't anything wrong with the question, but I came back because the question was appropriate. And he might have felt defensive, but I did ask him those questions. I did ask him those questions. Now, the one he laid off, I didn't ask him that.
Yeah, you guys may want to have them here wrapped up like this.
But I
This
did.
might
I
be the
tried
better
to
option.
anticipate what you might ask, and I asked.
I didn't expect so many.
I don't doubt that a bit. I think it would certainly have clarified the situation down there and probably allowed some resolution of it without rising to this level. Mayor Pro Tem called this meeting. The charter gives him the authority to call meetings. He did. One, two, three, four. Don't have a quorum yet. We'll be reconvening here momentarily, so if you would try to find your seats, and as soon as we get a quorum up here, we'll reconvene. So please try to find your seat. Ms. Bailey, when we reconvene, we'll let you make your presentation. Please, sir. We'll be reconvening momentarily. Let me get a quorum up here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd be 5. I see 6. All right. We have a quorum now. I count for a quorum, and others will be joining us momentarily there. But let's reconvene. Mr. Bailey, would you come to the podium, please, sir, and give us a presentation from the Cherry Blossom Festival?
Well, good afternoon. I'm Don Bailey, and I have to tell you, I am honored and was thrilled when I was given the privilege a couple of years ago by Jake Farrow to become at that time, the festival chairman, and then I am now serving as the chairman of the Cherry Blossom Festival. I just wanted to take a few minutes to go over some items from the Cherry Blossom Festival. We had a phenomenal retreat last week where we were looking at the events that we've had in the past, what we're planning for 2018, and what we would like to do in the future. And I think the community needs to see what this festival does and the type of things that we bring to this community. So I'm just going to go through this pretty fast. The Cherry Blossom Festival, we are becoming known as a very progressive, pinkest party on earth. And that is because there's more pink in this community during our festival than any other time of the year. Also, we're trying to get out the message that when you compare us to Washington, D.C., we have more cherry trees than they do. And we want people to come to Macon to see what we have here. Also, the festival, we are an award-winning festival. We win awards just about every year, but last year's festival, we won 19 International Festival and Event Association awards, and some of those were from some of the new events that we added. The gospel concert that we partnered with Smart won a gold award at this event, and that is for the first year that we had that event. We also won an award where we had the new sponsorship agreement, and that was with the Macon Transit Authority and helping transport people back and forth from Central City Park. We won an award again for the Fireman's Pink Pancake Breakfast that we've done every year with the firemen as an event down at Central City Park, and we're just proud of that event and the thousands of people that show up for that. And then one of our original partners that's been around with us for almost from the beginning, if not the beginning, was Coca-Cola, and we won an award for them for the best sponsor partner. But again, we won 19 awards this year, and I'm not going to read through every one of them. Also, the Macon's Cherry Blossom Festival, we provide accessible, diverse programs and world-class entertainment so that there is something for everyone at our events year-round. Now, Commissioner Lewis made the comment about our funding. We receive 7% of the hotel-motel tax for our funding. And what that allows us to do is that 80% of our events are free to our community and our international visitors. That's how we're able to go back and reinvest that money. 4, Macon's Cherry Blossom Festival promotes the universal message, and this is something that our founder, Carolyn Creighton, has said many, many times. Our message is of love, beauty, and international friendship, and it is told through the stories of our global outreach and community unity. The Macon's Cherry Blossom Festival is a relevant community tradition that strives for diversity and to authentically represent its community in the evolving multi-generations that it serves. Now, I'm not going to read everything that's on this slide, but if you look at our programs for 2018. In addition to most of the programs that we had for the 2017 festival, we are adding 10 new events for next year. That's the New Year's Eve ball drop that we're bringing back after an absence for a couple years with the Cherry Blossom Festival. We're going to bring back a Hall of Fame program honoring our past chairman. For Middle Georgia State University, we're going to host the Easter egg hunt. I think everybody knows about the Gateway Bridge over at Mercy University on Mercy University Drive, the bridge that goes from across the road there, the new one that was just finished. We're going to have a bridge dinner on that bridge during our festival this year that's going to be absolutely phenomenal. We're going to have it lit up, and it's just going to be a beautiful gateway into our community. We're going to bring back the big wheel race to the festival this year. Our fashion show is changing. It won't be in the day. It will be called a Chic Soiree fashion show. And instead of Mark Ballard doing that, Mark Ballard this year is going to do the Mark Ballard Comedy Roast. And the roast is going to be for Carolyn Creighton this year. So make sure you come out for that. It's going to be a fun time. And she has agreed not to give us that look that she sometimes gives us when she's not happy. The grand finale glow, that is going to be the hot air balloons. We're moving that. The firework finale at Central City Park. Usually we have the fireworks at the grand finale, but this year we're going to move that down to Central City Park. And we have reached out to Goodwill Industries here in Middle Georgia, and we're forming a partnership with them for numerous events this year. And if you hadn't received your invitation, on November 17th, Goodwill, their annual gala, it's not the Cherry Blossom Festival, but at their annual gala, they're honoring Carolyn Creighton this year. So we want to make it also the pinkest gala in the world. But there are a lot of things that go on in our festival that, you know, I could stand here for the next several hours talking about what's going on. I do want to touch base. Some of our events, it takes a lot of people. You would think it would take a lot of people to pull it off. But like for the New Year's Eve ball drop, we have 3 people in our staff that basically will handle that. And they will handle everything through getting the sponsorships, the permits, all the way down to security, all the volunteers that we will need down there for that event. And it will be very special, and it will be a pink ball that drops from the sky this year. Now, down at Central City Park, you know, that's something that I'm sure y'all probably have questions about. At Central City Park, you know, it is an event that last year we brought 60,000 people down just for the festival inside the gate. That doesn't include the pink pancake breakfast and other events that were taking place. But to be able to pull that event off is just sort of miraculous. And we have 2 people that are really involved in that from our side. And Catherine and Amy, you know, they pretty much spend all day and most of the night down at Central City Park making sure that we have everything in place to be able to pull that off. Go ahead and address something. I'm not sure why it popped back up again, but it's been put back out in the public that, you know, the charging for the parking and that kind of thing. Well, we don't charge for the parking. We did that, I think, the first year. One of the things we do is we go back and look at when we have community concerns and see what we can do to address it. We now offer free parking. And the Cherry Blossom Festival, we actually invest, you know, about $20,000 a year at some of the off-site parking, and because we have to pay for security to be at these sites, we have to pay for lighting there because most of these people are returning after dark, the cleanup of the space, and of course we have to have restroom facilities there from people returning to their vehicles. So that has been addressed. I'm not sure why that's popping back up being parking down at Central City Park. Another thing that we're introducing this year, Macon-Bibb County employees and volunteers help us tremendously. So this year we're going to introduce a new product, I guess you can call it, called the Central City Park Pass. And it's going to be a pass that we're going to give to all Macon-Bibb County employees, all 1,800 of them, so they can have free access to Central City Park. We think they deserve it. We think, the hard work that they give us and help us through the whole festival, that's the least we can do. And just to give you an idea, if all 1,800 of those passes are used, that's a $90,000 value that we're giving back to Macon-Bibb County. The parade, I'm one of the people that sit back, enjoy the parade, and enjoy the bands and the floats, and you never think about what happens behind the scene to be able to pull a parade off. And when we were talking about all the different items, you don't think about, as a spectator, what goes in with the traffic control, the quality control, the lineup, the sponsorships, and all through that. And again, that's something that Macon-Bibb County helps us with. It's valued, and that's one of the reasons we're offering the free pass to everybody. All right, if you missed last year's street party, we brought it back after a multi-year absence. If you missed it, you missed the party of the year. Downtown Macon was just absolutely phenomenal. At the end of the night, when I had to go up and introduce the last band on the stage, and I looked out across there. I could not have been more proud to see the crowd that we had brought into downtown Macon. It was a beautiful sight. And I think, Mayor, I actually turned around and smiled at you when I came back up and said, we made it. For us to be able to pull something like this off in downtown Macon, it's a wonderful event. It was a great venue location. But like everything else, there's always an issue that comes up. And one of the issues that arose was that some of the downtown businesses were concerned about, you have to close down roads, you have to close down, different paths to be able to get into our festival. So we are forming a downtown business meeting where we're going to work with downtown businesses that could be impacted to see how they can participate and be involved in the street party that night. And hopefully they'll be able to, increase their revenues as well. But that street party was unbelievable. And I was hoping and praying that we would get this contract signed for our headliner for this year's festival. We have an agreement. It's not signed. So I cannot tell you who our headliner is, but it's going to blow this market off the map. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. People are going to be so excited. So look forward to the street party this year. All right, for 2018 operations, again, our funding comes from 7% of the hotel motel tax. And then we have to go out and raise the funds through sponsorships and other entities to be able to put this festival on. So it's pretty much all hands on deck. Each one of our staff members, there's 6.5 of them, that are pitching in to make sure that we have enough funds to be able to pull this festival off. One of the things that I've done is we put in timelines on our different events to make sure that, one, we're on task to make sure we have the money to be able to cover it, and two, if we don't, we'll be able to either say we're not going to be able to do that event this year or put in an action plan to be able to pull it off in another manner. But just for our operations, we're responsible for sponsorship sales, staffing, our board of directors, our chairman's club. Our chairman's club, that is all of our past chairmen of the Cherry Blossom Festival. They're all members of what we call our chairman's club. The Pink House, payroll, the vendors that we have to pay for all of our events, bookings, insurance, community outreach, the marketing and public relations that go along with a festival like this, the tourism outreach, the festival outreach, international outreach. And if you haven't been watching social media, you need to look at Petals the Poodle. Apparently she's been carrying on a relationship with the Geico Gecko. And, it's become a pretty hot thing around the community watching where Petals is going to show up. But in this operations, one of the things that we also have to do, we bring in festivals from all over the United States to come to Macon so they can see how we are able to produce the Cherry Blossom Festival. Part of that reciprocation is that we also go to other festivals around the country. And, I know we have a great festival. But one of the things that I have been more surprised about is, the last one I attended was Fiesta in San Antonio. We're in this room full of other festivals from all over the country. And some of our friends from up in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Aquatennial, in front of all these people, announced that their favorite festival to visit anywhere in the country is the Cherry Blossom Festival in Macon, Georgia. And I tell you, I was already wearing pink, but I turned pink and red and all these other colors because I was so proud of what we were able to take across our country. All right, if you can see this, the bottom left, this photo is of the street party. It's not the best photo. The best photo was from the stage where you could just see people everywhere. The other photo is actually from the Cherry Blossom Festival too. So I just want to give you a little bit about what our festival has accomplished and what we have for 2018. But the other thing that came out of our planning committee, there are lots of other items we want to add to this festival to bring more people to Macon and Middle Georgia. I mean, that's part of our goal, is to fill hotel rooms, fill the restaurants, fill the venues in this area. So even though there are probably a dozen more events that we want to bring, you know, we figured let's do the 10 new ones that we're adding, and we're tabling the other ones to be added in the coming years. So with that, that's what the Cherry Blossom is. And I'm afraid to, but I will open it up to questions.
Good. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Tillman?
Actually, not for this gentleman. I do have questions for Teresa Robinson, since her name was mentioned several times by Ms. Carswell, that I'd like her to respond to.
Teresa, are you with both the Cherry Blossom Festival and the Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission? Good.
Mayor, can I address that? As far as the members? I happen to serve on numerous boards in this community myself that has a lot of crossovers from other boards. It was pointed out that Adam has the KMBBC chair has a slot on our board. We also have board members that we select because they are very prominent local business people that we need on our board. You know, I can't stress enough, we live and die by our fundraising. We have to have the people on our board that when we go out and our sponsors say, who's on your board? Is everybody contributing to the endowment fund that we set up? And it is a requirement now for the Cherry Blossom Festival. If you're on the executive board, you donate to the endowment fund. If you're on the rest of the board, we ask that you donate to it or contribute financially some other way. So when we have Teresa Robinson, we have Gene Bragg on our board, and Adam, they are there because they open doors for us. You can't get much better than having Gene Bragg, one of the prominent downtown business people, on our board. Teresa Robinson is probably one of the most prominent marketing PR people in this community. So when, you know, I take exception from our board when people question the integrity of our board. So Teresa, I would love for you to come up and answer the questions, but she's on our board because of what she brings to our board and her history with our board.
Good. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. And just to comment before Ms. Robinson speak, you know, one of the concerns that commissioners have is we have a number of boards in this community and so many folks that we like to see. So duplication of serving on boards is fine, but we've got so many folks in this community that we want to serve. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Your name was mentioned several times on the particular date, and I was going back looking and trying to get some clarification on something. Before you address some of the issues that you've heard by Ms. Carswell, can you just clear something up for me? I keep seeing the name Carol, who were apparently taking men. Who is Carol? C-A-R-O-L.
There's not a Carol. Carol Grant is the chair-elect of Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful Commission.
Okay. I just keep saying that name. Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Did you want to ask me a question?
Well, your name, as it relates to the minutes that I've taken some time to read, there was one particular incident where supposedly you had taken minutes or a recorder. And Keep Making Beautiful, I know was going to be having a new secretary come in, and they were trying to get the minutes and all of that. And what happened to those minutes? And then you can address some of those other issues about where your name was mentioned. But how does that normally happen as far as who keeps the minutes and how will they move? Because then you're just hearing and reading that not only that you have the minutes, but several other folks had the minutes, and all of a sudden folks say, I don't want the minutes because they appear to be tainted. And I'm trying to see how can a recording, be tainted and all of that.
Okay, I'll be happy to explain that. After I served as chair of the board for 14 to 15 and 15 to 16, then the incoming chair, Adam Cochran, came on. Pam Carswell asked me to serve as secretary after Charlotte Woody had served as secretary for about 10 years for the commission. And Charlotte is an exemplary person and very ethical. So I served as as secretary. I traveled a lot last year. I traveled out of the country. I worked for a company that was going through a major change and closing 104 business offices across the state. I serve on other boards. I chair other boards. I have served this commission for 15 years. I chaired the Bring One for the Chipper for 14 of those years until last year. I believe in this commission, and I believe in the Cherry Blossom Festival. So I had traveled last year. I had missed a lot of meetings, executive committee meetings. When I did get back to returning to the schedule, there was some things going on that I didn't understand quite what was going on, some conversations. And so I was trying to get all of the minutes, and I did not call Ms. Carswell for the minutes. I called Charlotte because during the time that I was absent, Charlotte would either do the minutes or Jean Bragg would do the minutes in my absence. And once I got the minutes, we were missing some minutes. So I asked Charlotte for the recorder. I asked her if she could get the recorder. We had a new commissioner that had just come on the board that agreed to serve as secretary. Charlotte got the recorder for me so that I could listen to conversations of the executive committee to kind of determine how we got to where we were. So that's why I asked for the recorder. It was not a secret that I had the recorder. I didn't keep it from anyone that I had the recorder. As a matter of fact, when I returned the recorder to Charlotte, after Ms. Carswell had sent me a message to say, you need to return the recorder, because I guess maybe she knew I had it, I put it in a company envelope, my company envelope with my name on it, and I left it for Charlotte at her office. That is the story of the recorder. Now, mind you, I was the former secretary of record. So that's why I had the recorder.
Thank you.
Any other questions from you at this point, Commissioner Tillman?
Thank you.
Okay. Got Commissioner Allen's light on next, and then one following that. Commissioner Allen?
Thank you. Mr. Bailey, I need to ask you just a couple of questions.
Okay.
Early on, I hope I misunderstood what you said, but you said you had to put up money to get on your board. Is that correct?
No, we established an endowment fund with this community foundation, and part of our bylaws state that to serve on our board, we would, on the executive committee, you donate to the endowment fund.
Is that how much is that they have to?
$250.
They have to give $250 to get on your executive board.
If you're on the executive board, we ask for a $250 donation to our endowment fund.
You've been chairman for how long now?
I've been chairman of the board since this past July.
I asked this question early on, and I'll ask it again, because I believe in a lot of instances that it goes on when you merge two organizations such as y'all, and you put people on the same boards, and I've got two organizations that are 501c3s, and I don't have any board member from one on the other, because you have conflict that stirs up from that because of personalities. Do you feel personalities has played a role in this any way or whatsoever?
Commissioner Allen, I've said repeatedly that I cannot discuss issues with the KMBBC side.
No, I'm just saying personalities.
But I will tell you, from the Cherry Blossom side, we don't have an issue. We have a great board that is committed. They participate. They're out there. They're helping us. You hear what's going on behind me now. You know, our board does not have an issue. And like I said earlier, the three people that are on our board that are duplicated, that is one, Adam, who is dictated by the bylaws. The other two are Gene Bragg and Teresa Robinson. And I cannot imagine any board in this community not wanting either one of those ladies on their board.
I know every one of them. But my question is...
So there are allegations that are being made that are unfounded.
Does that come from the paper? Because the paper basically said that y'all wanted them out, from what I understand, from what I read, out of the house.
Commissioner,
you gave them a period of time.
Let me go back and clarify that. Go back. We are a fundraiser to be able to pull our festival off. The fact that the two organizations are in the same house, yeah, there are inherent issues with that. But when we are beginning to have three of our board members and our financial person's ethics called into question by KMBBC, three of our board members are being asked to resign by KMBBC, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of sponsorship money on the line that we have to answer to. And we have not varied from our story from the very beginning. We don't have an issue with Cherry Blossom.
There again, I'm going to go back to the same question. Personalities, whether it's Cherry Blossom or Keep Making Beautiful, but the personalities do play a role in why we're here today. Is that correct or not?
I think there's some issues, which are obvious from the first meeting, that need to be addressed. I can't address those from the Cherry Blossom side. We have to go about our business. And we did, I mean, you know, I'm from the media, 30-something years in the media. I want to address a couple of things. I never used the word evict. All I said was, while you're working out your issues, could y'all move out of the house so it does not impact our ability to do our job? And it was impacting our ability to do the job.
But if they had they had the house 50-50 like you have it, why didn't y'all move out of the house for those few days?
We have 6.5 employees that are in that house. And Mr. Commissioner Allen, if it was 50-50, KMBBC pays 20% of utilities and some other bills. The Cherry Blossom Festival pays 80% of all of that. Plus we pay for the insurance, maintenance and upkeep, and everything else that takes place at that house. I was as shocked as a lot of people to see that it was 50-50. Because if it is 50-50, our attorney might shoot me, but I think they ought to start paying 50% of everything. I mean, I was shocked to hear that that the Cherry Blossom Festival owned 50% of the house, which was stated and is on public record. We don't own the house. It's owned by the Urban Development Authority. But, you know, who should belong in the house? If you go back and check the records, every conversation I had with the media was the same conversation, and each time I made the comment, we need them to succeed. We need them to get their issues over so they can move back into the house. At no point in time did I say we're going to evict them. Evict means they're out forever.
The question early on was asked about personnel from the city being sent down there to the house with a meeting that was there. Mr. Floor and
that was at the terminal station, not at the house.
Okay. Our budget, it was a meeting. Were you involved in that, having them down there?
I was not aware that they were going to be there till they walked in the door. But let me go back and clarify something else that was said earlier in this meeting. We didn't belong there, and we were asked to leave. At that meeting, this was an open meeting, Cherry Blossom comes to their board meetings, and we give an update. I was there at the meeting where she asked people to leave at the end of the meeting, at an open meeting. They asked people to leave. I was invited. Cherry Blossom was invited to be at this last meeting. I informed them that we were invited to be there to give our report. Not one, not two, not three, 4 different people came up to us and demanded we leave an open meeting. And I said, it's an open meeting. We're invited to give our report. Why are you asking us to leave? One person said, we don't want y'all here. We were invited to be there. So I stayed. But one of the people who came to me, I said, if you don't want us here, this is an open meeting, so we're staying as citizens. So that's why we were there. One, we were invited. We give a report at their meeting, and I was confused, especially for somebody being in the media for 30-something years, why we were being told to leave an open meeting.
Now you can see why we're confused.
Absolutely. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and Liz Fabian, a great, used to, I was a publisher of the Telegraph, somebody I respect.
I mean, she makes mistakes too, huh?
No, she didn't make a mistake. I was talking to her, and as soon as I opened my mouth and said, this is crazy, I thought, oh crap, she's going to put this in the paper. So I did make that quote. I said, this is crazy.
Okay, you made a mistake.
I did.
Okay.
I said it don't open. So, but the other thing, I've chaired other organizations. I have been on board of directors on multiple here in Macon, but in the state of Louisiana, that's about as different as you can get, and Augusta and Savannah, Georgia. I have never in my life seen anything like this.
But have you ever been in your working on different boards, had 2 boards so close together as you have now that mingle board members?
No.
I hadn't either.
No.
That's what's wrong.
Commissioner Allen, the cross of our board members, I go back and say, I support them 100%. We are not the issue here. Read the 13, whatever that document is. I have not read the whole thing. It gave me a headache.
Commissioner Allen, anything further from you at this point?
I'm through, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Next light on is, I believe, Commissioner Lucas. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Try it again.
Thank you. I think everybody has the same feeling in here that there's some things that need to be corrected. And obviously some mistakes have been made in handling the delivery of some information. Oh, and my name is Lucas, not Lewis. I think you referred
sorry,
to
I
me
didn't have my
earlier.
glasses on, but
my husband would
I'm
like for you to call me Lucas.
I'm
That's
quite aware, and I apologize.
okay. Anyway, the question I have, you mentioned something about the budget. What did you say? Because I missed that.
The money that we receive from Macon-Bibb County is 7% of the hotel motel tax. The rest of the money we raise through sponsorships and community businesses contributing to our festival.
What is that amount?
We're a private organization, and that's not something that we're discussing public.
That's public money. Hotel motel
the
is
hotel
public
motel
money
tax?
that's raised by people who sleep in the hotels.
I thought I thought you were asking about the entire budget. The hotel motel tax is 7%. It's about in the category around $265,000. And like I said earlier in my presentation, that allows us to have 80% of our events open to the public with no charge. That's what that money helps us do. It also helps us bring more events that will fill the hotels, motels, restaurants, and venues in this area. We also turn around and invest that money back in other ways in our community, but it also helps us be able to give out $90,000 worth of vouchers for Macon-Bibb employees and other events. So that money is well invested.
Okay, one of the advantages of being around a good while is that you remember things when they start, some things when they started. I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm just saying I've been around a while. So I do recall a lot of the history of Cherry Blossom way back and over time. And I would just encourage everybody to remember that it is that this event, whether you have sponsors or whether you're getting hotel motel, which is a sizable investment by citizens. Just remember that, and even though that you're serving in a volunteer capacity, that you take that on as a part of agreeing to serve, and we do appreciate all of you serving. But you're serving the citizens. You're in the same situation that we're in. It's not your Cherry Blossom Festival. It's Macon-Bibb's Cherry Blossom Festival. And I think we owe it to citizens to reach a speedy resolution to this. It is obvious that there are problems. It's obvious that there are some conflicts going on, probably have been going on for a while, and we should have been dealing with it. As the commissioners, when we started getting word of this, then we were concerned because we want both entities to survive. And as I said earlier, this would have been better discussed in executive session, because this would not have been out for the public to hear. Some of these things are a little bit embarrassing that we have two boards that obviously have some conflict on some things. So as a commission, we have some options. We generally leave it to the mayor and the staff to work through things like this with entities that we fund. But as commissioners, it looks like, since it spilled over into our arena and we're dealing with it, that we need to help come up with a solution to it. We certainly don't want to defund any entity that's been around for 30 plus years. We certainly don't want to do that. So, and we certainly want to see Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful continue to operate in the fine manner that they have operated. I think we started out with Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful first. Wasn't there Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful first?
Yeah, it was.
Then Carolyn kind of snowballed this thing into Cherry Blossom, and the rest is history. We want to see both survive. So we've got to be adult about this and realize whether we want to continue serving on this or whether we don't, whether it's ours or whether it's the citizens, and whether we want to be responsive to a diverse community or whether we don't want to. So I look forward to sharing some additional information when we have our executive session. And I hope that in the meantime that everybody goes about what they're supposed to be doing. And if you say you're a Christian, and if you say that you're a part of this community and you've got the community at heart, the best interests of the community, then some of you will drop some of these things that you've been carrying around, these grudges and these ill feelings and all of that, and you'll start working on behalf of the organization that you've sworn that you're going to support. I don't know about how the other commissioners are feeling. I hope they're feeling pretty much the same way that I am. If either you commit to moving forward and come off the playground fighting, or we have to take some other kind of action. And I would hate to see either one of these entities curtailed in any way. But if the two can't operate and live in that same building over there, which is, I think, what's going to happen with the folks who are involved or without the folks that are involved now. I just want to see some peace with this. And so I think in our executive session, we'll be talking about what we can do if the two groups are not able to get it together themselves. So I just say again, we appreciate all of you who give your time, but we've got something that we've promised the citizens that we were going to provide. And I know that you're up to the task, and you're gonna do just that.
May I address?
Sir?
May I address your comment?
Go ahead.
I mean, there's nowhere in any media or nowhere in our conversation that the Cherry Blossom Festival has not said we need this resolved quickly. We've said that all along. We've stayed on message. I 100% agree with you. Some type of resolution needs to take place. It's not good for our community. And the Cherry Blossom Festival portion, I will tell you, we need it fixed. And however it needs to be repaired, there's no one on our board, no one on our staff has ever made the comment, we want KMBBC to go away. So I'm not sure where that's coming from. But I agree with you, and we need a resolution to this quickly because we're in our prime fundraising period for this festival. And we don't need people in the background with all the negativity and drama going on. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, but
Anything further, Commissioner Lucas?
Okay. What's the makeup of your board? What's the tell me about the diversity of your board. How many women, how many men, how many blacks, how many whites, how many Asians, how many Hispanics?
I'm not sure exactly what you're going for, but most of our boards here, if
I'm not going for anything other than I'm asking a question about the makeup of the board.
I do not have those percentages, but if our board will stand up, I mean, you can see.
Not everybody, is it?
It's quite a few. Yeah, we had some that had to leave, but
okay,
I don't know.
I can get it later on. I can get that later on.
Anything else, Commissioner Lucas?
What's the makeup of Keep Macon-Bibb Beautiful? Half and half what?
And I guess you can say the same thing about ours. I mean, we're men, women, different ethnic backgrounds. I mean, when we look at our board, we bring in business people that can help us further our festival.
Right.
But I've never sat down and looked at our board and said, we've got this many men, this many women.
Right.
And
In an effort to move on, I've got two people, now three, waiting to speak, but we'll get that information from
okay,
the
my last thing was, though, the citizens who pay into that hotel motel tax look at it. They look at the makeup. You might not have, but they look at what it's made of. When I served some years ago, I think there were only 2 blacks serving on that large board. I don't know what it is now, but I just took that opportunity to say that boards need to be diverse. If they're not, if they are, great. If they're not, they need to be.
I think our board's
Anything
diverse.
else, Commissioner Lucas?
That is all.
Good. Let me move on. Commissioner Watkins was next. Commissioner Watkins?
Sir, help me out. We're getting to the end of this day, and resolution is what we need. And I'm still a little unclear on the situation. You guys are intimately more involved than I am in the situation. So when you say issues and like what is it that we have a problem with? What's the main issue? And any recommendations or pathways you see going forward? And before you, I'm recognizing, seems like Cherry Blossom is in somewhat of a cohesive moment right now. You've mentioned several times that you don't have an issue, but yet you need it resolved. So just help me out on.
We're being pulled into an issue, in my opinion, because, like I stated earlier, we very much appreciate the 7% hotel motel tax. The rest of our funding has to be through fundraising with local businesses, and when you have 3 of our board members and our financial person being called out on ethics and accused of all these different things, our sponsors want to know. So that's why we have to have some type of separation that say we are not part of this, and we cannot let the Cherry Blossom Festival be jeopardized by our board members and our finance person. I mean, our finance person is being accused of multiple issues in that public document that was issued. And that's still one of our employees. So in the public eye and in the business community that's donating money, that's something we have to make sure does not impact us.
Anything else, Commissioner Watkins, at this point?
So, and it seems like a large part of your idea for a resolution is splitting the space or someone leaving the building. And how does that help with innuendo and, I guess, circumstances? I'm not understanding how the day-to-days impact y'all on different floors, different entrance, how are we impacting?
It's all one house.
Okay.
But from the very beginning, I've said I do not have any say-so on the KMBBC board. And that's why I've pushed back to them. I don't know their internal dealings. The reciprocation, which you heard earlier, Cherry Blossom does not have an official seat on their board like they have on our board. So I do not know.
I guess I'm asking.
But say I don't know. They need to come up with.
Earlier you mentioned that them being in the house was creating a the office building was being a distraction. And I guess on a day-to-day level, 10:30, we're making phone calls and doing fundraising. What is the necessity, or how does the situation improve if you guys were to leave the building?
What hadn't been said, I cannot cross certain lines because it becomes issues that our attorney will not be happy for me talking about. So I guess this might be something, I don't know if it can come out in the executive session or whatever, but at this point I can't answer that. I can't answer the question.
There are day-to-day occurrences, I guess we're calling them issues. So there are day-to-day issues that happen?
I think it needs to come out in.
I'll yield to.
Okay. Commissioner Tillman, you were next.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've been here about 4 hours, and if we don't wrap it up, I'm going to have to start, just get my wife to bring the trick-or-treat candy up here. Mr. Bailey, thank you for being here, and all of you are. And it is amazing that all of y'all are connected to this community. We all have probably friends on both sides of this that we both support. It seems like I'm hearing something, and maybe, I don't know if is it because Keep Making Bibb Beautiful only has one employer that we keep hearing about, the one common denominator. And when I was in school, you know, that's the way we figured out the math equation of you take something and whatever the common denominator is, and it keeps coming back to the common denominator and Ms. Carswell, because I guess, you know, we've got to get some other folks to help her, assist her. I don't know if we're giving enough money. We not. I don't know, but the common denominator factor here has to be resolved, and I think the administration is going to resolve it. I just wish we could find somebody to take all of us on a retreat. I feel like I've got to send the county attorney a bouquet of roses. I mean, you know, this meeting was not called really to beat up on anybody. But I will ask you this. It's been established that we're here and that Ms. Carswell was asked to leave the building. My question to you, sir, is did she agree to leave the building? And when did that conversation take place?
Well, I'm not talking out of turn. I was at the same board meeting where Adam Cochran, their board chair, brought it up. I believe it's on video where he and Pam left the room. He came back in front of everybody on this video, said that, you know, asked me if we would extend it another week. He looked at Pam, asked her, she shook her head yes. And that's when I left the meeting thinking that.
She shook her head yes to what, sir?
To Adam asking her if she agreed to those terms. So, I mean, that's if
the terms
the
of
TV
leaving
station
the
would share
building. Sir,
Yes.
you're right in front of me. We don't have to rely on the television station. The terms you meaning is that she would agree to everything that was stated, including leaving the building?
That was my understanding.
Thank you, sir.
Anything further, Commissioner Tillman, at this point? Then Commissioner Beckler, you were next.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Was that a second over here? A motion to adjourn with a second is a non-debatable motion, and takes a majority of a quorum to pass, is my understanding. 5 votes would be necessary to take any action, including to adjourn, I believe. So it's a non-debatable motion that's been made and seconded. So all those in favor of adjournment, please hold up your hand and let me call. Those in favor of adjournment. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against adjournment. 1, 2. So you failed to get 5 votes to adjourn. Therefore, Commissioner Schlesinger was next to have his light on to speak. Commissioner Schlesinger?
That's why I voted not to adjourn. I wanted to throw my 2 cents in here. We've got a principle in Hebrew called Shalom Habayit, which means peace in the house. Don, this is not directed to you. It's really directed to the group. And one of the greatest principles is achieving peace in the house. One of the obligations in the Jewish faith that has great reward is to make peace where there is strife. And I think we're at that point here. I think that, you know, everyone here, whether you're on the payroll or voluntarily serving on the board, needs to go away from here today asking him or herself, what can I do to make peace where there is strife, to bring Shalom Habayit, peace to the various houses. I don't believe that we, the commission, are the solution to this. I believe that you yourselves, no matter which side of the gallery here you're sitting on, I think you're the solution. And I think if you know, obviously there are hurt feelings, there are, you know, maybe insults and insinuations that have gone on. Sometimes it has to get worse before it can get better, and I'd like to think we're at the worst point right here. And now it's time to move in a direction where it's going to get better. I don't think that you solve problems with personnel changes or resignations. I think you solve problems by coming together. And I think that's what everybody here needs to do. You know, today's a really great day in the life of Macon-Bibb County because, you know, we got an Amazon distribution, you know, center, $90 million plus, you know, investment, 500, 600 jobs. We should be out there dancing in the streets. I mean, we really should. And instead, you know, we're in here dealing with issues, personality conflicts. I've been sitting up here, you know, Rodney King, you know, can't we all just get along, has been, you know, going through my head here. So, you know, I know we've got another executive session, you know, coming up a week from today. But I just hope that everybody leaves here meditating primarily on how can I, in whatever role that I play in this whole what's become a drama, how can I and what can I contribute to bringing about Shalom Habayit, peace in the house? Because that's the resolution. And that's something that, you know, both of these organizations can, in fact, do themselves without us. You just have to incline yourself to, you know, now beating swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, and moving forward in a constructive way. So please, every one of you, take that thought out here with you, and perhaps when, you know, the parties get together next week, we can be moving in that direction instead of putting greater distance between us all. Because, you know, issues of, you know, winning or losing are not important here. The real issue is coming together as a community in order to serve this community. So please, give that your utmost thought as you hear.
Thank you, Commissioner Schlesinger. There are no further lights on. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Yeah, well, I hope this is a final comment, but I agree with everything Commissioner Schlesinger just said. The problem I have, though, is that I think that when you want to resolve something, one of the first things is intent. I'm not sure I heard that. I'm not sure I've heard two groups who decided they intend to resolve this. So between now and the time you get to the front door, I hope you'll at least make the commitment to say, well, we're going to straighten this out and resolve it. It's important to this community. And so hopefully, you know, we can get rid of whatever the personality things are and work to do what's in the best interest of this community. Because both these groups are critical. So thank you.
No further lights on. Is there a motion to adjourn? Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Commissioners, there is lunch for you, sandwiches, commissioners only, across the hall. No, I think it's.